de rumos podcast.
Welcome, Rudo Nation, to another episode of the Rudos podcast. I'm Jay.
And this is Scotty Nobelt. Jay, dude, how are you doing?
Scotty, I'm doing okay. I'm a little bit, self-quarantining here. I'm not sick or anything, but I'm doing my social isolation. I'm getting a little cabin fever, but I have a nice cold can of hard sparkling seltzer keeping me company here. And I still got another bottle of your bubbly left that you gave me, man.
Hey, just be sure to ration it. There's no telling how long we're all going to be social distancing ourselves.
Well, Scotty, we busted out and did a little tasting of the bubbly after the AEW Revolution show. I had the Podfather and my buddy Rudo Rafa joining me. We have that video up on the Rudos Podcast YouTube channel. Go on YouTube, search for the Rudos Podcast. And we also published it as an audio episode on rudospodcast.co and all of those other podcasting platforms where you can find the show. Scotty, you've come back from vacation to a world gone insane. Like, how has the adjustment been coming from living the Rudo lifestyle, having drinks on the beach in Cabo, to coming back to one of the craziest events that we've had in American history?
I have to say it is like whiplash, man. I went from a week of margaritas, senoritas, and coronitas, which for those of you who don't know are the small Coronas.
The little 8 ounces.
Yeah, they're not contagious.
Oh God.
And
we're going there. We're going there.
and had a really good time, no reported cases of COVID-19 in Mexico while we were there. And coming back to Seattle, maybe we should have got stuck there somehow, and we would have figured it out. But no, seriously, it's good to be back. Even though Seattle seems to be the epicenter of this current pandemic, at least in the nation, and it's shutting down everything. It's good. We've been asking ourselves a lot of what can we do in our community to make things better? How can we support other people? My wife actually is throwing a virtual happy hour tomorrow afternoon just so everyone can get a little loaded and be social. So there's that.
How do you do a virtual happy hour? Do you just throw on the webcam, throw on the camera, and just start pounding drinks, or what?
Yeah. She actually will be setting it up over her Zoom account. So if anyone uses Zoom, it's video conferencing software. So you can have, I don't know, a decent amount of people and basically have a little video chat room. So yeah, we'll see how that goes, because honestly, that might be the only happy hours happening here for a little bit.
Yeah,
and please,
it's nuts.
I want to say, I say that, and I say it a little jokingly, not because I don't think it's not serious, but because we're all going to make it through it. We just all need to chill out, stay indoors, keep our social distancing, and be nice to each other. We'll get through this. It just might take a little longer than we want it to.
No, you're right, Scotty. We really need to band together. I mean, this is the time, in a time of crisis, when shit gets real, when shit hits the fan, this is the time that people's true characters are displayed, right? This is when you really find out how somebody really is as a person in a time like this, a stressful time, a time of crisis, a dangerous time. And if people, you got to go out of your way to help those around you. You have to go out of your way to help those who may not be able to help themselves in this situation, right?
Absolutely. There's, it's crazy. A lot of people would kill to be, chilling at home for a few days without any responsibility play some video games, drink a little bit, smoke a little ganja. Like, it's all good. But as soon as you're like, oh, you need to do this, you're like, no way, man, I've got to go out and live. It's like, come on. You would have thought this was awesome and not punishment like 3 weeks ago.
Yeah, exactly. You really just have to put things in perspective. But man, I'm so happy that you and your mixed tag partner are safe in Seattle, man. I wish you guys the best. I hope you guys stay healthy, stay safe up there, man.
Hey, and we're thinking about you guys in the Bay Area and all around this great world.
That's right. We're thinking about everybody here. Rudo Nation. Rudo Nation is worldwide. This whole situation is worldwide. We wish all of you the best. Please stay safe, stay healthy, and help those around you. Do something to make a difference, to make somebody else's life better in this situation. That's really what's important, and that really is the true Rudo spirit, right?
That's right. And speaking of the whole world, right? Because this is a international incident that we're all pulling together. Hey, man, we got Steve, dude. Steve's up in Canada. How's Vancouver doing?
It's doing fine, especially because you didn't give me a nickname.
Oh wow, we didn't.
During
no, it's
pandemics.
Okay.
During pandemics, we're not nicknaming you.
No, we'll give you a pass this week, Steve. I gave you the French nickname last week, and you didn't really have much of a response to it. I'm a little disappointed.
Yeah, that's fine.
So today we've got a very special Rudo's podcast episode. We're going to be talking about the New Japan Cup. Obviously, it's been canceled, but we're going to do a little fantasy booking. We're going to recap AEW's episode this week, the March 11th Dynamite episode, preview how they look going into Blood and Guts in 2 weeks, a special AEW Dynamite episode that, well, it may not go on. We'll see. I mean, tentatively, they're planning on having shows at Daly's Place. But beyond that, we also have a special interview with Scott Bregante from West Coast Pro Wrestling, the owner and promoter. And he was gracious enough to talk with me today. And we're going to have that as the back half or the back part of this episode. So stay tuned for that. Listen to him. He gets really candid about being a promoter and what he does and his style. And what's really important about what Scott did is that the show next Friday that was scheduled, A Lesson to Be Learned, was obviously rescheduled due to the coronavirus outbreak to April 17th. But he went out of his way and actually paid all of the workers for that show that was rescheduled. And it's something that not a lot of other promotions have done. And he talks a lot about that and taking care of the workers and just the attitude and all of that that he has as a promoter. And it's a great listen, a fantastic listen. So stay tuned for that. We'll have the timestamps for it listed in the description so that you can see when that interview starts. But guys, let's jump on in here. We've got to talk about New Japan. The New Japan Cup has been canceled for 2020 as Japan has extended their ban on large events pretty much through the end of March. April, they're looking like Sakura Genesis may still happen, but we will see and keep tabs on that going forward. But guys, so there's no New Japan Cup. So let's book our own. Why the hell not, right? I mean, there's no wrong answers, right, Steve?
There's still some wrong answers, I think.
What's a wrong answer? What would you say is a wrong answer to booking the New Japan Cup? Fantasy booking.
Well, I mean, Yoshihashi's in it.
Old tacos.
Like there's Young Lions in here.
I mean, come on, man. Carl Fredericks is, repping Carl Fredericks here, man, from the Northern California indie scene. I'd like to see him go far.
I'm just saying, if Carl Fredericks beats Kenta,
I don't know. right? That would be a pretty huge upset.
I mean, I
But
wouldn't be upset, but it would be a wrong answer, is all I'm saying.
well, I mean, there has been a history of big upsets like that of young talent. I mean, look at 1-2-3 Kid beating Razor Ramon, right?
Famously in the New Japan Cup.
I don't know. That's only fresh on my mind because Scott talked about it in our interview that we just did. So there you go. We'll giving you another little preview of the interview here. Yeah, giving you a little teaser. So, Scotty, walk us through a little bit. I know you've actually gone far and beyond just fantasy booking the New Japan Cup, right? I mean, you even got your writing skills on from your mixed tag partner, having her inspire you a little bit, and you actually did some fan fiction?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, we might come upon a time, albeit not a long time, but a time where there may not be any wrestling happening. So you all might be depending on me and my imagination. I was inspired by Tai Chi and the rest of his buddies who did their Fire Pro Wrestling version of the New Japan Cup. So I was like, I'm going to start writing a little fan fiction. It's a work in progress. Don't be too harsh. You can be a little critical. But I'm going to read a couple paragraphs just to whet your appetite. So, Chapter 1, The 64. 64 warriors made arrangements for what may be their final battle. Some big, some small, some short, some tall. A clown, a flamboyant one, pure evil, and one who makes the rain. They will defy the laws of physics as they fly through the air and collide with a force few others could stand. Each believed they were destined to be the final champion, the last champion on Earth. There would be loud roars, cheers, boos. But on this, before that time has begun, now we only hear a shuffling of the feet, doors slamming, and the rumbling of expectations. Another sound we hear is breathing. While breath is essential for life, this breath wishes to be the death to anyone who might step in the ring. Rainmaker, do you hear me? Hisses Jay White. I'm getting that very familiar feeling. You know the one where you get your arse kicked. Do you want to breathe with the switchblade? And that's the first two paragraphs.
Wow. I'm just glad you didn't start getting into some weird locker room stuff, or in the showers or anything. I mean, some of that fan fiction that people write is really creepy. So I'm glad you kept it not creepy.
I mean, it's only the first two paragraphs, so I could have gone in that direction. I try to be more of a let the characters take things where they may be writer. I feel like I was starting to set a mood.
And you did set a little bit of a mood there to kind of give us a little preview of your fantasy booking for the New Japan Cup. Who do you got winning it?
All right, so I've got Final Four, the finals, and the champ. So my Final Four are Ishii, Jay White, obviously based on my fan fiction, Ospreay, and Kenta. For the finals, I actually have Jay White and Ospreay, and winning it all, I have Jay White.
Interesting. So you've got Jay White winning it all. So then he would face Naito at Sakura Genesis, right?
Exactly.
And did you book all the way through that match? Do you have a winner coming out of that one?
I don't. That's too far out for me.
Oh, okay.
Too much could happen, or actually, in this case, nothing could happen between then and now.
Steve, who are your final four for the New Japan Fan Fiction Cup?
So, little look behind the scenes. Scotty and I had a short conversation before we started recording, and we identified that we had very, very similar final fours. I think it's a very G1 style thing to sort of expect the guys that are getting pushed the most to be the final matches. So I also have Ishii and Jay White. I think it'd be really surprising if the winner of Jay White and Okada did not win that corner, because like, who else there are you picking exactly?
Fair.
Yeah.
I guess you could put David Finlay through, but
I don't know. I mean, that's a tough one. And I mean,
Yeah.
there are some intra faction matchups that are possible here, right? With a couple different permutations of the matches. So
I actually think that block could have been very interesting. I think, there's a chance you have a Juice Robinson, David Finlay like tag team match off, right? There's a chance that you could do that and have one of those winners face off against Jay White, and they both have history with Jay White, so that's pretty interesting. Yuji Nagata and Minoru Suzuki is a hell of a matchup for a first round, right?
it is. That's a hard hitting matchup.
Right, but I ended up just going with the obvious and putting Jay White through there, and basically the same story in the first block, Ishii. So I have Ishii and Jay White as the left half finals. The right half, I sort of thought about it a bit, and maybe from listening to some other podcasts, I was swayed a tiny bit. But if you look at how this block shakes out, there's a really interesting thing where there's actually the chance for Will Ospreay to face basically every member of LIJ on his way to the finals, if you wanted to. So you have him beat Shingo in the first round, and then you can have him beat Sonata in the second round, and then face whoever from that top block in the third round, and then face Evil on his way to the finals. So that's actually the direction I went. So I have Ospreay versus Evil as the finals for that half there.
Wow, that's an incredible little booking jump there to put Evil all the way into the semifinal.
Yeah, but I mean, look at his opponents, right? Like Evil versus Kojima, not surprising to have Evil win that match, right? And then you probably have Evil versus Goto, another match I wouldn't be surprised for Evil to beat Goto. And then the only question there is you probably have Evil versus Kenta, and that's maybe a bit to have Evil win over Kenta. But of his three matches, that's the only one that would stand out to me.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah, so Ospreay, Evil, Ospreay going through to the finals. I think that's because what the hell? I kind of in my head had Jay White winning, but I identified that Scotty was picking Jay White, so fuck it, I'm all in on Will Ospreay.
Whoa!
All in on Billy Ospreay.
Billy Ospreay versus Naito at Sakura Genesis.
Who do you have winning that matchup?
Naito's not losing yet.
No.
I don't think. See, I think it's really interesting too. If things had worked out and there was no cancellations, you have Naito versus Hiromu, and then you immediately go to his next title match is him versus Ospreay. Like, there's kind of some interesting thing there.
Yeah, it's a very interesting dynamic that you have there, right?
Yeah, the only weird thing is like Will Ospreay is ostensibly a champion. New Japan typically respects the Rev Pro Championship, right? So there's maybe a little weirdness there, but that's also a pretty quick Jay White rematch after Wrestle Kingdom.
Yeah, it's a quick turnaround. Well, let's see. I've got my final four on the left-hand bracket. I have Ishii versus White, the same as both of you. But on my right-hand bracket, I've done some crazy booking here. I put myself in the shoes of Gato, and
the tinfoil hat.
Yeah, I put my tinfoil hat on. Maybe if I'm Gato, I've had a few too many shochu highballs or a few too many whiskey highballs, and I did some crazy booking. I've got Taichi pulling out a big upset, beating Will Ospreay to go up against Hiroki Goto in the semifinals, with Taichi beating Goto and the Ishii beating Jay White. Finals Ishii Taichi, with Ishii taking the victory and losing to Naito at Sakura Genesis.
Taichi Mania running wild.
Taichi Mania running wild. Taichi just profusely cheating his way through the New Japan Cup to get into the finals.
But then Ishii does the same thing he did last year, where he forces Taichi to play it straight.
Or he just beats the living shit out of Taichi. That's what he does.
Sure.
I mean, he just...
Sorry, so I have to ask, who do you have Taichi facing in the second round?
Let me go back and look at my
Ibushi
my
or his tag partner.
I would have him going up against Ibushi. I like ZSJ, but I think Kota comes out hot and gets a victory over ZSJ. I just don't think you can have Kota losing in the first round after having a poor showing. Well, not poor showing. He had great matches at Wrestle Kingdom, but after coming out the loser 2 days in a row at Wrestle Kingdom. So I think Kota gets a little win here over ZSJ, and then Taichi takes him out there in the second round. I have a very bold prediction. Maybe it's the spiked sparkling water that's driving this, but there you go. I'm going wild. Taichi Mania running wild, baby. So there is our New Japan Cup fantasy booking. We got a little...
we'll never know. As of right now, we're all equally right.
We're all at the same standing in points for our picks, right?
Yeah.
So there you go. We even got a little bit of Scotty's creative writing. Scotty, I didn't realize this would turn into a creative writing podcast.
You know, weird things happen when you're quarantined.
Weird things happen when you're quarantined, when you're left to your own devices with a ton of alcohol and a little bit of the sticky icky, right?
That's right.
So there we go. Hopefully we get to see the coronavirus recede and the outbreak be controlled here so that we can see some wrestling in April, right? I mean, but honestly, again, as we've said before, it's about people's health, it's about safety, it's about people's lives. That is 100% the most important thing. Watching some wrestling, it comes secondary to all of that stuff. So hopefully everything is okay. Hopefully Japan is able to recover, the US is able to recover, the world is able to recover, and that we're able to see wrestling here sometime soon. One of the few promotions that is continuing to run is AEW. They are planning to have the next Dynamite episodes at Daly's Place in Florida, although that may not happen depending on the news. Things are changing minute by minute, so anything that we talk about today can be completely obsolete or can completely change, as soon as we press the button to publish this episode. So take any of our predictions or anything like that with a grain of salt. But AEW has said that they will continue to run from Daly's Place, running basically a studio show similar to what we saw the Bad Three Letter Company do this week. And I guess they're going to go until the state of Florida or the city makes them stop, the city of Jacksonville. So we'll see. But this week's AEW Dynamite opened with a fun little promo where your favorite guy there, Hangman Adam Page, Scotty, he came out dissing the Bucks hot, man.
Hell yeah, he did.
He basically told Matt Jackson to shove it up his ass when it came to tagging together in the main event.
Oh yeah, definitely. And you know what? They deserve it, honestly.
So you think the Bucks are being the bad friends in this relationship?
I mean, a little bit. I mean, look, it takes two to tango when it comes to relationships. So it's never one person's fault, but the Bucks aren't being cool, and Hangman is very cool.
Hangman is pretty cool. The crowd seems to like him. Steve, what did you think about this? How I mean, the tension is now it's a full blown fucking feud at this point, right? Between Hangman and the Bucks.
Yeah, so I liked this promo in the abstract. I think with the way the episode played out, which we'll touch on, later, I ended up liking this less, almost entirely because of the little tease that he has a partner and the partner's a mystery and all that stuff. It's like, I'm not going to tag with you. I don't need you guys. I have a partner. And then with the way everything shook out, I just kind of felt like they didn't deliver on that like I wanted them to.
Interesting.
But at the time, I was like, that's fun. That's good. Hangman's doing what I want him to do.
I mean, the guy has gotten over. I mean, we've talked about it for months and months now about what Hangman had to do to kind of go from the milquetoast baby face to getting over at that main event level, and his current gimmick and what he's been doing, the promos he's been cutting, working with the Bucks and Kenny. He is now really stepped his game up on the microphone, in the ring, and has truly cemented himself as a main event level talent. I think, gentlemen, I think we'd all agree, right?
Absolutely. He has gotten himself over. I think he's getting to kind of be a little bit more his self, and he is taking advantage of it. Also, it probably does help a little bit that throughout this stretch, he has been working with people that, while they may not be the top of AEW, that we know are like top guys in the industry.
Yeah, that's a great point. I mean, he is working with some of the best wrestlers out there. But hey, you know what? I mean, even if you work with the best wrestlers out there, you still need to do something on your own to get over on the microphone, right? I mean, it's hard. You can't have somebody carry you if you're a terrible promo.
Oh no, and he's been doing that all on his, like, the whatever switch was flipped when he came out and gave. I mean, how long ago was it that he gave the cowboy shit promo, and everyone went like, "Oh, this is actually the Hangman Adam Page we've all wanted for a while," and he's been delivering. Did you see his press release on the coronavirus?
Yes, I'm very glad that he is not drinking beers from strangers anymore.
Yeah, that would be unsafe and unwise in these troubled times.
I mean, even under normal circumstances, it's kind of gross.
You know what? But there's alcohol, so it probably gets the easy bugs to kill. He also has said he's going to be switching to drinking whiskey in hopes that the higher alcohol content will help stave off potential infection. Again, another really practical tip
from the Hangman. There you go. So make sure you get it. I think it's got to be 60 or 70% or more. So go look it up. By the way, just real quick on a little side note on a great interview about COVID-19 that has something to do with wrestling, coincidentally, is I'm going to go out there and plug it. The Wrestling Observer had an interview with a doctor from Canada, I believe from your up in your neck of the woods there in British Columbia, Steve. And it's like an hour and something minutes long, and it's actually a really good listen, and they ask a lot of great questions to the doctor, and it's really worth checking out. So go check that out when you can, and then hit up the Rudos Podcast YouTube channel too after you're done checking that one out, and check out a few of our videos. But
yeah, I think the most important thing to identify there is that they put it up for free. So
yeah, it's free and it's great. I mean, it's actually like really good information, and they talk about like how something like this works in the framework of MMA and pro wrestling. So it's really worth a listen. It's very informative, better than like what you're going to get at 99% of other media outlets, which is kind of crazy to say. But going back to AEW Dynamite, we had our first match of the episode. Cody Rhodes coming out with Brandy and Arn Anderson facing off against Ortiz, accompanied by Santana, proud and powerful. And man, first thing I gotta say, the fucking Roberto Clemente tank top that Santana had was sick with the Puerto Rican flag, man. I'm not even Puerto Rican, and I want something like that. That's fucking awesome. Scotty.
Yeah, I thought he came out looking sharp. I think they're starting to tune those guys' looks a little bit better.
Yeah, I mean, they're New Yorkers, so they've got to have the Puerto Rican flag out in like every bit of clothing, and they rock it well. They rock it well. They're showing that Puerto Rican pride. This match had a very kind of important sort of purpose, although it seemed like, on paper, kind of a random match, but it leads into the blood and guts level war that we're going to see with the Nightmare family and the Elite teaming up against the Inner Circle there at Blood and Guts, if it does happen in 2 weeks on March 25th. Scotty, how are you stoked for the match at Blood and Guts after seeing this little kind of teaser match going into it?
I mean, I think this match will be beyond, and I am excited that we're about to see some games of war happening between these two factions. It feels like we've been building to this for a while. It feels like the story kind of gets lost, so it is like a long episodic TV show where you're like, oh yeah, these two groups, they don't like each other. They're gonna settle it in some form of reinforced double steel cage. But I have to say, I still like all these people. They are still like fucking kicking ass, and I'm into it, right? Like, I think it's gonna be good. This match did, they kind of tease it just enough. We're gonna get a little bit of these battles. To note, this match we also did see Archer show up, so it wasn't just the Elite versus Inner Circle. We did see Jake come out with Archer. They didn't really get involved, but they came out and looked at each other. We also saw like the extended Nightmare family get involved a little bit with Brandy. Glad to have normal Brandy Rhodes back. It's just a little more entertaining that way. And Arn throwing his weight around. It was a nice match.
And that you made an important point there that Lance Archer made his on-screen debut for AEW, and it revealing himself as the client that Jake Roberts alluded to in his promo with Cody the week prior. We had heard some speculation that Lance Archer would have been there the week before, but he ended up not showing up and came the week after. He didn't get involved, right? He didn't scare any children either. And Steve, what did you think about how AEW just debuted Lance Archer in a little bit different way than they have previously done, like with the Dark Order, with the Butcher, the Bunny, and the Blade? They just had him kind of come out there and accompany Jake Roberts. They didn't have him get involved like they did with some of those other debuts. Do you think that this kind of shows a little change in strategy into how they are showcasing new talent on TV?
So I think it's important to point out that the story was that Lance Archer wanted to get involved and he started climbing the barrier, and then Jake Roberts stopped him and told him to come back and not do it. So in some respect, it's almost like they're trying to hint that every new person wants to go after Cody, which is what's been happening, right? Like, everybody's debuting attacking Cody.
I mean, he is one of the VPs. He is one of the main eventers. Other than not being a champion, he's one of the top dogs in the company. So he is kind of a high profile target, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty sure before the last month or so, in 2019, he was the top face of the company. I don't think it's really arguable. Like, Moxley was there, but he wasn't around enough to quite hold that spot. Since the start of this year, I think like Moxley's climbed and Hangman's obviously shot to the moon. But it kind of makes sense, this has to be the reason Cody made that stipulation, right? Like, he doesn't need to do title matches. We can't do title matches, so he's kind of the debut face for a lot of people. And I think it just comes down to whether Cody's, doing the job, so to speak. Is he actually helping these people get over, that kind of stuff?
Well, we've seen him do it very successfully now for like 3 or 4 dudes in around a year, right? Like it's kind of crazy. Like he did that for Darby. Not as much for Sean Spears. I think they were trying to do the same thing there, but Cody can work the mic really well. He wrestles solid matches, and it does not seem to matter if he loses, right? Like everyone's still like he's the best. He's still the most white meat baby face in the business.
He still doesn't lose that often.
Yeah, he ends up losing those big ones that get the villain over.
Right. So he lost to MJF.
Yep.
He lost to Jericho.
Lost to Jericho, yeah.
Yeah.
He lost the tag match where he was forced to be with QT Marshall.
Yep.
I can't think of any others.
He tied Darby. It wasn't a loss, but he tied Darby.
Yeah, it was a draw. Yeah, there you go.
But all those were very like productive.
Right. It's like he doesn't lose that much, but when he loses, they're high profile. So it's a question. We've seen Lance Archer on TV once. I wouldn't say putting him with Jake Roberts immediately makes him upper level, because they put Sean Spears with Tully, right? Like,
yep, totally.
They gave Sean Spears a legend. So giving Lance Archer a legend doesn't exactly tell us where they see him yet.
Yeah, they give him that legend to kind of help bring, let me take a step back. Lance Archer, right? I mean, he's big in New Japan. We've talked about him. Scotty, you made him the Rudo of the Year last year. But
he earned the Rudo of the Year last year.
That's true. He earned that award by scaring the shit out of a bunch of children. But he's not a household name in the American wrestling scene, right? A lot of us who watch New Japan, all of us here at the Rudos podcast hosts are all big New Japan fans, but a lot of your average maybe American wrestling fan doesn't watch New Japan or is not aware of what he's done in New Japan, especially since his ascension to being a really high profile, or not high profile, but his really massive improvement happened in the short span of just 1 year, right? Just in 2019. So he is maybe not that high on the radar. So pairing him with Jake Roberts gives him that high profile face that American wrestling fans are familiar with to sort of, help elevate him. So you have to imagine that if they're pairing him with Jake and they're already alluding to him having beef with Cody, that they see him as at least an upper mid-card talent, if not a possible main event level talent. I mean, gentlemen, would you agree?
They definitely want everybody to understand that Lance Archer is a beast, that he is not someone to be trifled with. Hell, they may be, I could see them thinking about, hey, how do we because I'm going to think Moxley's going to be the champ for at least a little bit. Like, he's not going to lose his next match to Jericho or whatever. But I do think, you get him up to a level so he and Moxley can go at it, because you got to think that the folks at AEW are thinking Moxley and Archer is money. Like, let's not forget this past Wrestle Kingdom, Lance Archer literally tried to kill John Moxley with a plastic bag and the EBD claw. So that seems like something you don't want to wait too long to get to. You don't want somebody to get hurt. Get to that, and it's going to pay off big time.
No, that's a really good point. What do you think about Lance Archer as a potential challenger to Moxley for the title, Steve?
So if you've been watching the last few weeks, they've been kind of pushing the idea of John Moxley versus Jake Hager. And I think Lance Archer is just a more interesting version of the same thing. So I hope they do that instead, or at least after.
Yeah, that could be like really short term. Like, you could just kind of see like, oh, he's got to wrestle this one big guy and he'll take his lumps, but and again, subject to change, right? But I think that's like a solid plan.
Yeah, that's a great plan, and it'll be interesting to see how they build challengers to a face champion, right? Because we've only seen challengers come so far to Jericho is the heel champion. How do they book a face champion? It's something that the Bad Three Letter Company has struggled with throughout recent years is booking a credible face champion with challengers. I mean, outside of maybe John Cena, they just haven't been able to do it. And so I think it's something that a lot of more casual American wrestling fans are missing. And so maybe bringing in some of these monster heels to fight the babyface champion is a way to get him some wins and get him some credibility defending the belt against the likes of Hager and Lance Archer. And going to the match, we saw Cody get the win with a little bit of a wrinkle in his finishing move repertoire. He got the win with a figure four, Scotty.
Yeah, I mean there's this joke that you'll hear sometimes from like Ric Flair about how he almost never won a match with a figure four. And so seeing Cody actually win with a figure four is just like, what the heck, man? But it kind of fits into the whole like this AEW is professional wrestling, and let's believe it's a little more real than Bad Three Letter Company. And like a guy might win without hitting his finisher. It's crazy.
Yeah, I really like that they give somebody a signature move that can win matches. It's something that we just don't see a lot. You do see it on the indies when people have multiple finishers or a couple signature spots that they may also use to finish matches. Very common in Lucha Libre, not so much common in at least New Japan, but occasionally we do see some interesting little wrinkles thrown in there. So we got a little promo to follow that up with Jericho being a total asshole. Hey, pumpkin-headed dipshits, come get your trash, he shouted. And then we see poor Nick Jackson with a rolling steel door smashed into his face. I mean, Scotty, what did you think about seeing Nick eating, basically the bottom of one of those roll-up metal doors?
I want to know, like, how did they trick Nick Jackson into walking underneath the door? Like, were they standing there? Were they taunting him? Like that? I mean, it almost sounds kind of like Bugs Bunny-ish, right? Like tricking somebody to walk under the anvil they've hung.
Did they?
And Nick Jackson fell for it.
Yeah, Steve, what do you think they used to lure Nick under the door?
They told him that Hangman wanted to talk. I don't know.
Maybe they had some like cool tassels or something down there, like
yeah. They were like, "Oh, we took your tassels out of your bag. If you want your tassels, you better come get them."
Maybe they used the doctor that they have hired. If you watch Being the Elite,
there you go. The doctor, yeah, the doctor luring people over there. Well, the next match was Chris Statlander tagging with Hikaru Shida against B. Priestley and Nyla Rose. It was a little bit of a slow start, but once they got going, they unleashed some nasty, hard-hitting blows. Yeah,
this was a pretty good match. I like all four of these wrestlers a lot, so good for me. I really appreciated when Hikaru Shida really got it going. The crowd started jumping in on a "Holy Shida" chant. I thought that was really fun.
That was really cool. I liked B having the head scissors with the legs and the armbar combo on Statlander. And Statlander, showing off her strength, did some straight deadlifts with B's weight on her like that. You got to have some strong fucking legs to do that. That is a very difficult position to be deadlifting and squatting somebody from. I mean, how do you, like, that's why you don't skip leg day.
Yeah, gotta be able to use those hips.
Steve, do you skip leg day? What do you or what is your what's your leg workout?
I always do leg day. 500 squats every day.
500 squat. How do the glutes and hamstrings look?
Uh, I decline to answer.
There you go. There you go. Maybe we can get a picture of the glutes and hamstrings and for or how about this? How about Scotty? Maybe you write some fan fiction about Steve's glutes and hamstrings.
No, thank you.
No,
All
thank
of
you.
those things are illegal in Canada, so
Oh. Well, we don't want to break Canadian law here. I mean, I really don't want the Canadian authorities coming after me, even though breaking laws is kind of rudo. Let's kind of switch gears here a little bit and check in. Steve, I know things are just so insane right now. You have had the time, though, to go combing through the internet, through all of those mounds of good shit, to find the special little nugget of such good shit for this week's Such Good Shit of the Week award.
It's such good shit.
yeah. And you kind of alluded to this earlier, Jay. You mentioned the Bad Three Letter Company doing an empty arena show, and to be clear, them doing the show to me is not the good shit. I think it's it's a defensible business decision. I understand that like getting a bunch of people, even if they're all performers, getting them all together at the show is risky. It's not the best idea, but it's not something that I think is like a uniquely weird Bad Three Letter Company decision, right?
No, it's not unique at all.
However, they sure did have multiple people on this show completely burying their fucking roster.
It's why would you do that?
They had the man himself, Paul Ass Blaster Game Changer Man, Mr. Helmsley. They had him on commentary with Michael Cole. And boy howdy did he take every opportunity to sling shit.
Like why? I mean, you're supposed to be, you're the heir apparent to the company. You're supposed to be like promoting NXT as its own brand. You're supposed to be putting over the talent. Why the fuck are you going on commentary and just burying people?
And it's like it was a very Triple H style thing where he wasn't directly coming out and like calling people out so much, right? But he makes those knowing jokes where it doesn't help anyone's opinion of anybody.
No, it's like very passive aggressive, right?
Sure, yeah, and taking shots at Michael Cole is like, what are you doing? This guy's been here for so long. Like, what are we doing here? It's so weird, and it's weird in a way that's not. It's just weird. I can't, like, there's no other word for it.
He's coming on TV like he's Triple H from like 2002,
Right.
and like no, your job is different now, dude.
You're the demoted ex-C whatever, right?
Yeah, I mean, you just you can't do that anymore. You can't bury people. I mean, it's just ridiculous, and it doesn't look good, right? I mean, if you're a prospective talent, you're an independent talent, you've got the guy who is the head of the training, right? The performance center, NXT, the developmental brand. He's supposed to be like the guy who has the authority to sign people, and you got him out here burying people like this. I mean, it's like, why? Like, do you want to go work for somebody like that?
Yeah, it's very much on the funny good shit end, but I feel like it fits the mold. But he wasn't the only one, is kind of my point here, because the show ended with Mr. You Can't See Me himself, Jonathan Cena, coming out feuding with your boy The Fiend, setting up a WrestleMania match that either happens at WrestleMania or happens at Hooters. And I can't remember the exact line now off the top of my head. Should have written it down. That's my fault. But he basically did that thing where he said the people who didn't make it weren't working hard enough. And we've heard that story so many times about so many people that have been so successful since they left that, like, come on, John, but please.
Yeah, seriously. I mean, just come out and put some fucking people over. Like, that should be your job as a part-timer. You're not supposed to be burying talent. You know, it's one thing for, like, in the context of a promo or an angle or something to kind of call somebody out, right? Versus just outright burying them. There's a line between the two.
Right. There's a difference between you don't work hard enough and I work harder than you.
Yeah. And it's like, you don't work hard enough. I'm better than you. I can beat you in a match. I mean, that's just kind of classic booking, right? I mean, but it's another thing to kind of come out and just make it more of a burial. Ugh. Such good shit out there, man. Such good shit.
It's such good shit.
Well, let's go back to AEW. We had the Daniels fake recruitment video where he kind of parodied the Dark Order recruitment video that they had, and I loved it. I was cracking up. It was fantastic. What did you think about it, Scotty? Would you go join Christopher Daniels, the Fallen Angel, his own little cult, if you saw that recruiting video?
So I thought it was excellent. Christopher Daniels is pretty damn good at making those, being irreverent and being funny in this sense. I'm see here. I'm gonna do a little tinfoil hat action. I think this is happening now because now that they've got the broken one, Matt Hardy, in the fold, he'll be the greater power,
the exalted one.
The exalted one, exactly. Daniels was supposed to be the greater power,
the higher power.
The higher power. That's right.
And he alluded to that in the promo. He made a little reference. He dropped the higher power line in the video.
Yeah, he and as you spoke about on a couple episodes ago, right? He had his own little gang at one point in Ring of Honor. So I think it's all pretty funny. I also think this was just their way of being like, all right, we're going to move on from the other idea because we had something better come up in having Matt Hardy jump in. And I'm knocking on the table, knock on Formica, that is true.
Well, we'll find out next week as they are slated to reveal the Exalted One. I mean, they may be throwing us a curveball here. It may not be Matt Hardy.
It could actually end up being Christopher Daniels, right? Because wrestling and we're always waiting for the swerve.
Steve, what do you think? Are we going to get the straightforward Matt Hardy debut as the Exalted One, or are we getting a swerve here?
I think Matt Hardy being the Exalted One is perfectly fine, and it's the safe bet. And in some ways, this company has been going with safe bets, so I won't be shocked if that's the result. I think the Christopher Daniels swerve is also defensible, but there's a few points in this feud where it's been kind of weird, and that would require such a weird amount of puppeteering. Like it would seem strange. I don't know. Something about it doesn't quite feel right to me, but if I'm not going back through every episode of the show so far, I can't really justify that. But something about that just feels kind of off to me. I think that the dark horse pick right now would be Brody. Like Brody Lee, maybe. He might not have the clout that you're looking for in terms of a debut. I can buy that. So I'm not. Again, I think Matt Hardy's the most likely pick, and I'm not going to be upset if it's him. But I think there's more options than that.
And there could be even an option that has not been made public. They could have somebody that they have signed hiding under wraps, right? Like a retired wrestler or something. They could just have another option waiting that we haven't even considered or that they haven't made as part of the promos or video packages, it could be a complete curveball or a complete, left field pick for it, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think Raven kind of falls under that because, they had him sitting in the crowd that one time.
For a Dark Order match.
Yep.
Man, those Raven promos from ECW, from Ring of Honor when he was going up against CM Punk, the guy is great on the mic. You may not want him working a ton in the ring, but just having him on the mic, I mean, it is certainly a possibility. And with the right situation, could be successful.
Oh yeah, I mean, look, Raven has been proven multiple times that the man understands the psychology of wrestling. He does very excellent promos, and I don't think any of us really want to watch him wrestle. By the time he got to ECW, he was also, let's call it, not the best wrestler. Like he had some injuries that really hobbled his in-ring career, but he could do all the things he did well enough, and just made you believe that he had that little bit of extra weird, I don't know, almost occultish power that made the handful of things that he was still doing like the best handful of things.
Yeah, he does have that sort of cultish leader. I mean, you go back to Raven's Flock, right, in WCW. It's entirely possible. There are some very interesting options. We will find out next week, so stay tuned. We're going to be talking about AEW Dynamite. If indeed it does happen, we have to throw that caveat out there. We don't quite know what's going to happen yet, but if it indeed goes on as planned, we will talk about the Exalted One on the next episode. So, gotta wait a week, and we'll find out. So, following this, we had the Jurassic Express facing off against the Butcher and the Blade with the Bunny and MJF. In a fun trios match. We got to see really good healing by MJF. He went out and tried to take out the knee of Luchasaurus, which is actually kind of a smart move. So it goes to show MJF is the crafty heel, right, Scotty?
Absolutely. This was a really good setup right here.
Steve, what did you think about this match?
I enjoyed this the most out of every match on the show.
Why was that?
So, I thought this was the one match that didn't really fit the mold that we're used to, which is something that helps me enjoy it, especially on a weekly television show. Choosing Luchasaurus of the three people on that team to be the one getting worked over is, some people are against that kind of thing, but I think it's, it works. You have to do that every so often. You can't have it always be Marco Stunt, right?
Yeah, you have to switch it up. I mean, they did like try to murder Marco Stunt too.
Yeah, it's hard not to work with Marco and look like you're trying to murder him, but the heat segment at the start of the match was all Luchasaurus getting his legs worked over.
And it's
which is really interesting.
Yeah, and the legs are an important part of his offense. He's got all those kicks. He's got that standing moonsault. He uses his legs a lot for all of that explosiveness. I mean, he moves really quickly for being such a big wrestler. I mean, God, he's what, 6'7", legitimately 6'6".
Yeah, like the only thing he really does that's not leg focused is his choke slam, which is what he ended up doing after getting worked over so much. Really.
Yeah.
Also,
man.
I mean, Jungle Boy's just like one of their best hot tag guys. I think he went wild at all of it. It was great.
I really love that step-up tope from Luchasaurus to the outside, although he almost killed himself. He almost whacked his head. But, man, to see a guy that big pull up the step-up tope con hilo to the outside, that's nuts. I mean, your brain can't process it when you see Luchasaurus taking flight.
He can do that because dinosaur heads are harder than normal people's heads.
Well, there were some dinosaurs that flew, like the pterodactyl. So it's not out of the question, right? So after that, we had a weird video from Darby with like a body bag being dragged around.
Wearing the cutout faces of others. I just want to say Darby makes weird videos, right? Is that's just going to be part of his thing.
He does it for the cameos too. When people pay for the cameo video, you know, when they do a video shout out, he often does weird videos as part of that too.
Oh shit, you can do that with Darby?
Yeah, he's on Cameo. Oh man, Scotty's just gonna go now and drop $30 or $50, however much it is.
Is he only $30 or $50? Because like I looked up like Ric Flair or some other folks who are like a couple $100, and I was like, oh, I'm not paying a couple $100 for that shit. But like $50, yeah, hell yeah, I'd pay Darby to record a weird video for me.
Yeah, $50 from Darby. There you go. Wow. I mean, hey, Scotty, I mean, you got nothing else to do, right?
Yeah, like whatever. What the heck else am I doing? I'm in quarantine.
Well, there you go.
Oh yeah, $50.
That might,
all right.
Wow, we might see a shout out to Scotty Nobelt from Darby Allin. Stay tuned. We'll throw that up on your Twitter there, right?
Hell yeah, I will.
At Scotty Nobelt on Twitter. Follow the man. Check it out.
Maybe I can get him to try to kill me or something.
Well, I don't know if he comes in person. I mean,
well, I don't want him to. I want him to like kill me on video, not like.
Well, I guess you guys are both in the Seattle area, right? Isn't he? He's from Washington, so.
You know, I've heard that. I don't know. Maybe he is.
Well, either way, maintain your social distance.
In the age of coronavirus, probably not.
Yeah, you probably want to maintain your social distancing.
Yeah, I mean that would be rude for him to show up and just like cough on.
Oh wow! Are we? Oh my god! Oh geez, Scotty. Speaking of doctors and medical shit, we got a promo from Britt Baker, DDS, Dr. Britt Baker, DDS, just burying the state of Utah.
You know, it's funny. Yeah, she definitely let everyone know that she didn't really think very highly of Utah, which, you know, it's a beautiful, beautiful countryside. But a lot of what she said might be true. I
mean, that's the best healing is healing that has a little grain of truth behind it, right?
The cheap heat, man, going after somebody's home city or home state always is salt in the wounds.
Rubbing it in there.
It helps when it's like it's touching the truth, right? Like Jay said, where the people listening to it, they know she's kind of right.
Yeah, and that's what makes them even more angry.
They're mad because it's kind of true.
Yeah, it's like, oh, she has a point.
Yeah, somebody from somewhere else doesn't get to say that about my city. Yeah,
I mean, look, I grew up in the South. We hear it a lot down there. So game, respect game. I like her. I've liked what she's been doing. I think they need to start figuring out something a little different for her between the commentary and these promos with Tony. Like on the one hand, like Tony and her have kind of gotten like, oh, people like this, so it's not just her smashing Tony. But I do want to say the good moment out of this is it looks like we're setting up a Big Swole versus Britt Baker confrontation as Big Swole comes out, gives Britt Baker a very personal burn, baby, kind of innuendo that whereas Big Swole is married to her man, Britt Baker is not married to Adam Cole. Without saying his name, so that was kind of a good nudge and a wink. And then Britt Baker takes Tony's coffee and throws that shit on Big Swole, man. Tony Schiavone needs that coffee. She needs to apologize to Tony.
There you go, Scotty. That may have been is that a Rudo Move of the Week nomination there?
Kind of. You don't mess with a man's coffee.
So there you go. Does that win the Rudo Move of the Week award?
I think so. I mean, Britt Baker might have been the best Rudo of this pack, to be fair.
So there you go. Well, actually, since it's Britt Baker, it's Ruda. So there you go. Our Ruda move of the week, Britt Baker.
I want to say I feel like our name is a little sexist because this year, 2020, is shaping up to be the year of the Ruda. We've had almost as many women winners as we've had male winners.
Yeah, it's true. Now, in Spanish, you can kind of say you have to go by the noun, and rudo is technically a masculine noun. You have to manually change it. So the standard noun, I think, is masculine. So that's why we go by rudo move. It's just the weird mechanics of the not weird, but it's the unique mechanics of having gendered nouns in the Spanish language. So we're not discriminating against the Rudas by using Rudo in the name of the award. But when we do award it to a Ruda, we do flip the letter there to change the gender. But the standard noun is technically masculine.
Well, thank you for explaining that to me. I've been working on my Spanish, but I've got a long way to go.
Well, Scotty, you're going to have plenty of time now to study your Spanish.
That's true. There ain't a lot else I'm going to be.
There you go. Watch some Lucha Libre, man, and practice your Spanish. I mean, there's tons of AAA on Twitch. You got CMLL on YouTube. You got a lot of options to sit there and work on your foreign language skills, buddy.
I think that's a great point. That's really what I should be doing.
There you go. Use this time to enrich your mind, enrich your appreciation of different cultures. It's a really great. You always got to learn and grow. Always got to learn and grow. And
it's true.
It is. So something that I learned in our next match, which was how badass El Triángulo de la Pinche Muerte is, as they faced off against Private Party and Joey Janela. And I threw my own little wrinkle in there to Triángulo de la Muerte, throwing in the Pinche, Triángulo de la Pinche Muerte, the team of Rey Fénix, Penta El Cerro Miedo, El Cerro M, and I don't even know what you would call him now, like Pac.
Bastard.
Pac. I'm trying to think of I wish his name had an R in it. That way you can kind of roll it to go along with the others. But so this was the first match that we saw, El Triángulo de la Pinche Muerte working as a trio. And man, they worked pretty damn well together. Steve, what did you think about seeing this trio working together for the first time?
The thing that stood out most to me was hearing their entrance theme for the first time.
The mashup.
That is one hell of a weird ass mashup right there.
Yeah, it's strange, man. It's something I wasn't expecting.
It took me literal days to realize that the lyrics were actually literal mashup lyrics. I couldn't understand them. I was listening to the song over and over. I was like, I don't understand this, but it sounds kind of neat.
Yeah, it sounded neat. This match was neat. I mean, this match was insane. I mean, these guys just went at each other pretty fucking quick. I mean, you got Triángulo de la Muerte, they're very athletic. Private Party's very athletic. And Joey Janela, who's just a complete fucking psychopath in there. I mean, they just went at each other. I mean, you had a DVD on the apron. The Death Triangle was out there. They were flying around, just hitting people super hard. I mean, you got Penta and Pac have some serious strikes. I mean, they're not known for their striking, but these guys can stand toe-to-toe with some of the best strikers in all of wrestling, right, Scotty?
This match was hot, and you are right about that. They came out there, both teams, hard-hitting. This was, I mean, two teams that also have some people that can really take to the skies. Even Joey Janela, who, let's say he's not as graceful as the other competitors in this match, but he's not afraid to leave his feet.
Joey Janela, really, he is up there in the list of wrestlers who have cero miedo, no fear, right? I mean,
That's true.
I mean, don't forget he took that bump in CZW. What was it? It was the Kryptonite Crunch, the air raid crash, like off of a roof from John Zandig into the back of a pickup truck. So, I mean, the guy's taking bumps off of a roof, like a warehouse roof. Like he's insane.
He really is, and I think like across the board, this was a really fun match to watch. Whenever I feel like Private Party gets to be on the main show, they come out and they know that this is their chance to like pull out all the stops. And really, the team up of Pac and the Lucha Brothers is awesome. Like there's like no natural connection between them except for they're three bad dudes who don't have any fear.
They really don't have any fear. I mean, they have that mix of high flying and Pac. Although he hasn't worked I don't know if he's even worked at all in Mexico, but he worked a lot in Dragon Gate, which has a very heavily lucha libre influenced style. So Pac does have that lucha libre experience, even if it's kind of like secondhand through Dragon Gate. So the fact that he can step in there and be a trio with two other luchadores goes to show you that he is a very, very well-rounded wrestler to be able to step in and work that super fast-paced lucha tag style. That's really common in Dragon Gate, right, Steve?
Sure, yeah. I know lots about Dragon Gate. You're asking the right guy there.
Well, we saw a lot of really cool stuff in this match. I'm stoked. Scotty, we've seen that AEW has put on such great tag matches, such great trios matches. Do you think they should do a trios tournament sometime to showcase that trios? I mean, it's not an official division, but to showcase the amazing depth of trios that they have?
I think that would be like a really good summer thing for them to do. Granted, whatever. We actually get to have wrestling here in a couple months. But, as the summer heats up, when you're just kind of, in general looking for something a little more fun, it seems like a lot of wrestling organizations try to mix it up during the summer. Yeah, a trios tournament would be awesome because you could set up some different matches.
Work some angles
really,
through it.
Yeah. Like you'd have some existing angles kind of flow through it, but then you could also set up some things for the future that a little more organically, and it would be new. It would be the first one for AEW. They could give it a cool name, and before you know it, they could just do it every year. Like hell, take 8 teams, 8 trios. I'm sure you could come up with 8 pretty solid trios right now. And even if you have some that where the combinations doesn't feel super natural, like, I mean, in some ways, like Pac and the Lucha Brothers, like we didn't see that coming, but we've also now seen, hey, these can work too. So like, why not do more of that and just see where it goes?
Yeah, there's a lot of possibilities. I mean, AEW has shown that they're willing to do some more creative stuff. Trios tournament would be cool. Maybe a like World Cup style tournament where they have representatives from different countries kind of working as trios or in multi-man matches. That might be pretty cool. There's a lot of possibilities out there. I'm really excited. I would just love to see a straight trios tournament though. Like you said, there's so many great trios. SCU, Jurassic Express, Triángulo de la Muerte. You've got the Nightmare Family has trios. Obviously, you got Kenny or Hangman and the Bucks. I mean, there's a lot of possibilities out there. So let's see it, man. Hit up Cody on Twitter and let him know that, hey, why don't you guys do a little trios tournament this summer? Hit him up, Scotty. See what the American Nightmare has to say.
You know what? I will. I think exactly what you were saying. It sets up some interesting stuff. Like think about the Elite, the Young Bucks and Omega. They obviously have been a trio multiple times. Now, well, who's Hangman gonna be in a team with? Maybe it's the Rhodes brothers. Maybe he picks somebody we haven't thought of before, and before you know it, he's starting to look for new friends. Like I could just see how a lot of good things could happen here.
Hangman's going to team with Evil Uno and Stu Grayson. Oh, tinfoil.
No. He's not. I don't think there's no way Hangman goes Dark Order.
Never say never, Scotty.
No way.
Never say never. All right, we got a little promo video with Sean Spears and Tully recruiting Sean's new tag team partner. I guess we saw a bunch of the videos submitted by wrestlers on Twitter. I saw Aaron Solo made one. I'd like to see Aaron Solo be his tag team partner. I think Aaron would be a great addition to AEW. I don't know, man. There's just so many independent wrestlers out there that he's got a lot of wrestlers to choose from. Like,
and there was like a legit mix of like actual wrestlers who were like, hey, this is my shot. I could make a good video, and heck, one of these guys could legitimately be Sean Spears' partner. And we also got some guys just making a video and putting it out there. I thought about making one, but I consider myself more of a singles guy and not a tag team wrestler. Did you or Steve think about making a video to audition for Sean Spears' tag team partner?
No, you know what? I haven't. I've got some health issues with my neck. I don't think I can step in the ring. Unfortunately, I'm gonna have to watch from the sidelines. But Steve, I don't know about you, man. Steve, you think you can step into the ring and be partners with Sean Spears?
You couldn't put me in a wrestling ring if it was for my life.
I mean, all right, Steve. Well, how about this? What kind of gear would you go? You go in trunks? You go in pants? You go in singlet?
What a question is that?
Singlet, Scotty.
The classic.
Scotty, what's your wrestling gear? If you were teaming up with Sean Spears, what's the wrestling gear that you're gonna wear into the ring, Scotty?
Oh God, that's a good question. I'd probably go with some kind of full lycra bodysuit.
So like the natural, or what Dustin wears now, or like the MVP.
The elbow pads, the high boots. I'm not going to go with gloves because I think you want your hands, be able to get good grip on things and really get that skin to skin smack. And maybe a headband. I don't want to go with a mask, but maybe a headband.
What about a mullet wig?
Maybe. We'll see, guys. Professional wrestlers with long hair seem to outperform professional wrestlers with short hair.
Well, there you go. We'll take a look, Scotty. Maybe for Halloween we get to see your Rudo costume, your Rudo ring gear.
Yeah, that is definitely a possibility.
So we got a little bit of the Blood and Guts preview. The rules were laid out for us. It's basically like the Games of War, right, Scotty?
Yeah, totally. It's like the Games of War. I think it's almost a match beyond what we've seen before, but with more blood and guts. We talked about this at the beginning. I want to say, I think it's cool they're doing this. I think it's cool that they're doing it on a Wednesday night also. Like, they obviously feel like they can put all the blood and guts they need to on TV, and they're building an audience, and it feels fresh, it feels cool. So, thank you AEW for continuing to push the boundaries.
Yeah, pushing the boundaries, really being innovative, and the clever wink and nudge with the Blood and Guts name, right, is a fun little shot there that they're taking at the bad three-letter company. Steve, what do you think? You think there's going to be blood in this?
Yeah, probably, yeah. I believe there's been blood on TV already. Maybe not intentional. Moxley splitting Jericho open in the weigh-in segment, obviously. But I think the whole blood and guts thing is very emblematic of how this entire company has been existing. Right? You look at all the confluences of stuff that led to this happening, and it was all a large part of it was decisions made by the bad three-letter company, specifically along the lines of, this company does blood and guts, and we're not like that, and just a lot of stuff like that, right? It's
very passive aggressive shots.
Right. And it's like, okay, you want to take passive aggressive shots at us? We're going to take them and turn them into money for us. Go fuck yourself.
Every time.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like,
what bounce? What is it like? I'm rubber and you're glue. What bounces off me sticks to you.
Yeah. It's kind of like it's turning lemons into lemonade, right? It's like this company's pelting us with lemons and we're just taking them on and selling something from it. Because they don't understand that there's a group of people who want this, the thing that they're trying to take shots at.
Yeah, it's like, oh, this is what the fans may actually want, right?
Right, and it's, sure, maybe it's fewer fans. We don't know, right? We can't know that for sure, but it's still, close to 1 million people, right? Close, depending on how the ratings shake out or whatever, they've gone up to the mid 900s.
Yeah, they did have a drop this week, but there was due to some of the mitigating circumstances around. I think the president's statement was about the same time. So I don't know. It's like you said, there is definitely a demand for it. Scotty, I mean, are you nostalgic for the old Match Beyond, the old Games of War?
Oh yeah, I'm all about this. Like, it's awesome. They're gonna put this on TV. Like, hell yeah. And I think one of the big things, and this is also something that separates AEW from the bad three-letter company, is like they're not overextended into a lot of other things to try to hold up this giant enterprise right now, right? So they have an advantage. This is the smaller competitors' advantage, right? They can be a little more agile. Like they have this TV deal with TNT where I'm assuming that they're getting all the numbers TNT really, ultimately asked them for, right? Like, because TV ratings aren't what they were 10, 15 years ago. And all they need to do for now, right, is make really good shit on TV and keep bringing in those numbers, have good pay-per-views. They don't work the rest of the week, right? Like, their roster isn't giant. They're not trying to take over everything. They're trying to build a really good foundation. And honestly, I think that's working for them well. So good for them.
Yeah, like you're right. It is a very focused enterprise on wrestling. They're not trying to be this multi, media conglomerate like the bad three-letter company, making movies and all these shows to put on the network. It does have that clear distinction and allows them to focus their efforts on the wrestling-related product. It's a really good observation, Scotty, that you made there. I hadn't really thought about that before.
Yeah, I mean, again, I feel like on a lot of levels they get it. They get where they are, especially from a business standpoint, and what they're really trying to do. Now, it doesn't mean that some of those other things that other organizations do, but they might do at some point, like working some house shows or really, adding a second TV show so they work 2 nights a week and have they double their amount of shows, right? Like, think about that. They did another night where they recorded or went live or whatever, then they've doubled their shows, and that would be crazy. And probably good for us, because I think there's they still have wrestlers and matches and situations that, like, we rarely get to see because of, 2 hours a week isn't enough.
No, it's not. Although they did announce that there would probably be a future 2-hour show on TNT, so we'll keep an eye out for that. So that may stretch the roster a little bit if they have to work 2 nights a week. They may just kind of not have everybody work both shows. I don't know. It'll be interesting to see how that works in their dynamic, right? Because they're still kind of, or I guess they've just sort of found their footing recently with a single 2-hour show per week, and then you add in that other 2-hour show into the equation. That's going to be a big change for an organization that is still not even a year old, right, Scotty?
Yeah, no need to rush. No need to rush. I'm not by any means saying that I think they should rush, or I don't even feel like they feel that way, especially with kind of how things are playing out right now, where, we're not really sure what kind of gatherings will be allowed in the next few weeks, which is crazy enough to talk about on a pro wrestling podcast, but it's kind of the truth. So I think it's, like we'll see, but I think their mindset for building this foundation and then moving forward seems to be pretty solid.
Yeah, it seems to be pretty solid. And what else was solid? It was Dustin Rhodes stepping in as a solid tag team partner for Hangman Adam Page. He wanted to get his hands on the Inner Circle.
Yeah, honestly, I liked how this all got set up. Dustin doesn't care whether Hangman wants him as a partner or not. And that seemed like about the only way Hangman was going to have a partner for this. Like, obviously, he thinks he can do it all himself. But, these two guys actually make a pretty good team.
They did. And what was your name for them? I saw that you had a fun little name for them.
Oh, well, if Omega and Hangman are Mega Hang, it only makes sense that Dustin and Adam are Natural Hang.
Natural Hang. Or Hangin' Natural, maybe?
I don't know. I think Natural Hang is the money.
Steve, what do you think between the two, Natural Hang or Hangin' Natural? So,
well, what you have is the Natural Hang trying to stick it to the Inner Circle.
There you go. And I mean, we saw a little bit of rough chemistry, right? Hangman really wanting to do it all himself, but eventually he had to tag the Natural in, right?
That's right. And we're lucky for that because Dustin legitimately looks the best he ever has as a professional wrestler.
He looks fantastic. I mean, he's moving great, and he just loves hitting that destroyer.
He really does. It's like you can just see he gets excited to be like, oh, it's destroyer time.
And you could tell Jericho was having fun to work in this match against Dustin. I'm sure those guys have worked countless matches in the Bad Three Letter Company, right?
Heck, probably going back to WCW.
Yeah, that's a great point.
Actually, you know what? I'm not sure they would have crossed over now that I think about it. Yeah, I bet they didn't.
No, I don't think so. You're right. Because I think Jericho was gone by the time Dustin came back for his second WCW run. Yeah,
and they wouldn't have overlapped, but they both had been there. I thought it was great that Jericho decided he's a cowboy too, and he wanted to grab somebody's beer from the crowd.
Hey, you just want to get in there and show that you're a cowboy, I guess. I don't know. Yeah,
I mean, now he might look back in like a few days and be like, oh, I shouldn't have taken that beer. But
oh God, oh, don't even joke. Come on, how could you joke like that about Le Champion?
I'm not joking. It's just the truth. Like there's like the time before and the time after. I mean, he didn't get a lot of it because before he could drink it, he got like kicked into his face and out of his hand. So hopefully he's okay.
Yeah, hopefully he's okay. Hopefully everybody's okay. I mean, that's
like
really
there weren't a ton of reported cases in the Utah general Utah area when this show happened.
True. Scotty No Belt, also an epidemiologist. No, I'm just kidding. Scotty is not a doctor, right?
I'm not a doctor.
Scotty is not licensed to give out medical advice, so we will never call you Dr. Scotty. You're not like Dr. Britt Baker.
Yeah, I am absolutely not a doctor, but I do operate.
I don't even know. Wow. Steve, what do you think that even means?
Well, I don't want to know your weird American word choices.
There you go. Steve is just totally punting on that one.
Indeed. However, I get to say my piece now because you threw it to me.
Hell yeah.
I didn't like this.
You didn't like it?
I did not like the Dustin Rhodes partner thing.
Why is that?
Felt like they were setting me up for something more than what we got.
You didn't think that we were... I mean, I thought this would just be kind of a like a lead-in match into the blood and guts match, sort of like what we saw earlier with Cody against Ortiz.
Sure. And I mean, Dustin's not in that match right now. He might end up being. That might be the story direction they're going. But he's not in that match, right?
Yeah.
No, not
yet.
As of now, it's just Cody, Bucks, Omega, Hangman.
Right. So I understand it didn't come out of left field. It wasn't the weirdest option, but I felt like they were setting me up for Hangman to have called someone in or got someone exciting. And Dustin's great, and I have no problems with him, but I felt like I was getting set up for something grander, especially in a main event slot.
I get what you're saying, and I kind of felt the same way too when they were like, did the interview with Dustin, and they were like, Dustin, you're in your ring gear now. And he was like, yeah, no shit. I'm going to go wrestle, so excuse me. But I liked how it all played out well, but I do see what made you feel like a little disappointed.
Yeah, the person I wanted to see in that slot was Darby again, actually.
Oh yeah,
that would have been really cool.
Like if Darby just keeps interjecting himself into any match that Sammy is in.
Well, they beat the shit out of him the week before.
Yeah. They beat the shit out of him on the regular.
It's like they beat him in a 2-on-1 match. It felt so obvious to me that the setup was, okay, he's going to come up. Maybe it's just me poisoning myself, but it's like he lasts an extended period with them 2-on-1, and now these same two people are in another match next week with a guy with a mystery partner. It's like you bring out the guy that just went the distance with them 2-on-1, and now he's a 2-on-2, and then that really sells like Hangman and Darby can win that match, and that really sells it, right?
Totally.
Yeah, you have Dustin come down the ramp, and then Darby takes him out with the skateboard. Just hits him in the back with the skateboard and runs on down and jumps on in.
Until the bell rang, I was 100% sure Hangman was going to be like, go back, I have a partner already. But apparently the story was supposed to be that he wanted to do it on his own.
I mean, Hangman was inspired by Darby's very brave performance the week before. And Darby came pretty darn close to winning that match. I mean, he hit the coffin drop on Sammy Guevara. He had the pin, and it was only Jericho sliding in from outside of the ring and breaking that up that prevented Darby from getting the win. He had Sammy Guevara beaten. He was within, how many feet, I guess, of Jericho sprinting in, or however many decimal points of a second from getting the 3 count. But I mean, Darby, he lost it, don't forget, hitting that tope and then eating a brutal Judas effect to the face there as he went head first into the elbow. Oh, Scotty, what did you think when you saw Darby take that nasty, nasty Judas effect?
Oh, I thought that was it looked pretty freaking painful. But I also thought that was, again, so good because, dude, that's why Jericho invented that move. It's for moments like that, right? Like he pulls it out of nowhere, and when he does, it's over. It's actually they've protected that finisher really well.
I mean, he dropped Darby out of the air like it, right? I mean, it was like Darby got hit with an anti-aircraft missile. He just took that Judas effect elbow and then pretty much fell straight down. Nasty,
Dude,
nasty stuff.
totally.
Yeah, yeah. So we will see what AEW has in store, if they will even be able to run shows over the next few weeks. Tentatively, as of the recording of this episode right now, they are still on to run next week, the 18th at Daly's Place, and I guess you would have to assume that the show on the 25th, Blood and Guts, would happen there if it is allowed to go on. We haven't seen anything from the city of Jacksonville. The county there is that I think it's Broward County is the county that Jacksonville is in, or the state of Florida, or at a national level. So right now it appears to still be on, but literally that could change any second, any minute. Things right now are just crazy. But guys, thanks for joining me. I really hope you guys are safe. Steve, man, stay safe up there in BC. We know it's a little bit different up there than it is here in America, but honestly, man, we just want you to be safe.
Dude, I'm a pampered tech bro. I'm fine. I get to work from home easily.
Scotty, I know. Thanks, buddy, for coming on. You're also working from home, right?
Totally. Yeah, it's for me, I like going into the office and being so my coworkers and everything. But you got to do what you got to do. And right now, even though I'd like to be out partying, drinking at bars and doing other fun shit, hanging out, playing some Dr. Mario and chilling with the wife. Hey, getting to spend time with you two fine gentlemen on this afternoon. Always a pleasure.
Thanks for joining us, Scotty. Up next, we're going to have our interview with Scott Bregante. I keep saying his name wrong. I feel so bad. It's Bregante. It's hard because like the GA sound. I want to say Bregante, but anyways. So the owner of West Coast Pro Wrestling, we've got that interview coming up for you, and that will close out this episode of the Rudos Podcast. Here we go. Welcome to a special RudoCast interview with Scott Bregante, the owner of West Coast Pro Wrestling. Scott, thank you for joining us here at the Rudos Podcast today.
Hey, how's it going, man? What's going on?
Hey, it's good. It's good. I first off, I want to say I hope you and your loved ones are okay and healthy and safe right now.
Yeah, everyone's good right now, thankfully.
That's good to hear. That's good to hear. I know with everything going on, things are a bit crazy. A lot of people are not used to being cooped up at home all day, and some people are dealing with cabin fever, but that's not something you have to deal with, right?
No, I work from home. I'm home 7 days a week. So no, this is nothing new for me. I've been stocked up. Everyone's like running around getting toilet paper and all that craziness. I've been stocked up, ready to go for a minute.
Nice. Do you have any tips for anybody who is working from home for the first time?
Be near windows. When you feel like you're having that cabin fever and the walls are closing in, just take a minute, step out, look out the window, breathe a little bit. That's really the best I can do.
Get a little sunshine, get a little vitamin D.
Yeah, trying to with this cloudy ass weather we got going on right now. Shit.
I know, it's cold, man. It's cold. I went for a run, froze my ass off.
Yeah, it's trash right now.
Yeah. So you're obviously a big wrestling fan to step in and get involved in the wrestling business. I want to talk about sort of your influences as a wrestling fan and what made you so passionate about it. What are some of your favorite wrestling memories from childhood?
Okay. Well, my grandpa introduced me to wrestling when I was like 3 or 4. So obviously we're in the Bay Area. So whenever anybody it was WWF at the time was coming to the Cow Palace, we'd go down and we'd see them. Flair this is like 92, 93. So Flair, Hogan was still around. But like as far as TV goes, one of the things that stuck out I can remember is first seeing Dusty Rhodes for the first time in the polka dots, because I don't remember too much of the NWA stuff until later on. But I think it was the first real one I remember, like that really got me crazy, was when it was 1-2-3 Kid beating Razor Ramon on Raw, the upset. Because I loved Razor Ramon, but I was like, this is a smaller dude, crazy looking, you know what I'm saying? And 1-2-3 Kid pinned him, and I was like, oh shit! I remember my grandpa let me stay up late for Raw that night because I had school the next day, and I remember talking about it at school. So those are like you know what I'm saying, when I was really young. Those are old school memories.
Did you ever go to any of the live house shows or anything like that in the Bay Area? I know I'm in the same boat. When I was a kid, one of my favorite ones was the WCW did a house show at the Henry J. Kaiser Center in Oakland. And
man, if they came to the Cow Palace, I remember going. I mean, I think the last one I went to the Cow Palace was when like CM Punk was there with the Straight Edge Society. But I wasn't really watching wrestling too much at that point. So I was just going to go, and I enjoyed it. I've gone to house shows. Oh, actually, I just went to SmackDown. I hated it. I don't like going to like the new stuff. It feels like very forced. It's weird. That's a whole nother conversation. But yeah, no, all the old stuff, house shows are cool. But yeah, if it was at the Cow Palace, most likely I was, or even WCW stuff. I remember like Diamond Dallas Page had like an autograph session, and when he got the autograph, you had to yell out "bang." I had my mom's with me at the time, and he's like, he was clowning my mom because like she wouldn't do it. It was just hella funny, man. I like those. Like it's really tight knit. It's actually pretty solid.
yeah, we have such a great legacy of wrestling history here in the Bay Area. So many great shows, so many memorable moments have happened here. Something else from a memory from your childhood. What was your favorite piece of wrestling merch that you had?
Oh shit! It was a Four Horsemen T-shirt. I remember I had one. It was the one that stuck out because I remember I saved up money to get a Four Horsemen T-shirt. That one or a New Jack one. I don't know where it's at. Like I started collecting like in the last like 3 or 4 years, going back and getting all the old T-shirts that I could get because it's kind of a cool thing to do anyway. But the New Jack 187 T, I remember I was in middle school and I had that on, and they had me flip it inside out because it was gang related apparently. You know, so I was like, "What? It's wrestling? Like we don't care." 187 is the code. I'm like, all right, man, y'all got it. But those were the two that stuck out. My New Jack T. If anyone out here listening that got in an XL, I'll buy it off you. I swear to God. Just throwing that out there for you.
There you go. Hit him up on Twitter.
Right.
So that Four Horsemen tee, was it the white with the purple?
No, it was the one with Benoit on it. It was Benoit, Mongo, Arn, and Rick. It wasn't even the classic logo. It just had all four of them. It was a dope tee. I always thought Horsemen had the most like dope looking tees and shit like that. But yeah, nah, that was it was just the regular black. I think I bought it at the WCW show. So that's where I remember I got it, but I don't even remember. I think they had different tees in circulation that they had at shows versus what they had on the hotline at the time. Because this is before the internet, so I mean, couldn't get too much stuff off the internet.
No, you had to go live, or you had to either like call it in, or you could order it from the mail-in catalog, right? From the WCW magazine and the WWF magazine.
Did the same thing. I remember I made a phone call one time, and I called, and I recognized who it was. I hung up because I was scared as shit. I was like, oh no, I hung up the phone because they used to actually do the hotline, not the hotline, but when you made orders, you know what I'm saying, wrestlers themselves would be the ones picking up the phone. I don't remember who it was, but I remember I recognized who it was, and I hung up the phone. I was like, no, I'm good. Cause I'm a shy person by nature, so I'm like, I'm not.
Yeah, if you didn't know, if you called, you might get Tommy Dreamer, you might get Sandman.
I think it was Bubba. I think Bubba it might have been Bubba, but yeah, you could hear it because I mean we're from the West Coast, so off rip you already know, like you hear a certain accent, but he has a distinct voice to him. So I mean, I think it was Bubba, and I hung up. I got spooked. I was like, nah, but I was a young cat. I was like 11. You know what I'm saying? Like, she was crazy.
That's so cool that you've got so many great memories, and it sounds like it's really influenced you and made you such a big wrestling fan now, right?
Absolutely.
So you decide to get into the wrestling business. What was your inspiration for starting West Coast Pro Wrestling here in Northern California?
I got tired of driving to LA for a lot of the shows that I wanted to see or some of the people that I wanted to see. And I've always been into wrestling, but I've always wanted to keep the magic to it, if that makes any sense. So it got to a certain point where I like picking things apart, right? So whenever I'm a part of something, I always like to see how it ticks. And I'd start watching shoot interviews, and I start paying attention to the little details of things people said and put the puzzle pieces together. And then I have a few friends that were in the business when I wasn't, and I talked to them, and they, in a very cool way, they kept kayfabe like a motherfucker. You know what I mean? They would be cool about it. But after I started talking more and more, they're like, okay, you actually get this shit. So, you know what I mean? So I'd start running ideas down. And I remember it's my boy. There's two people I credit to beginning of wrestling. That's Will Hobbs. He was Will. I've been cool with Will since he was a skinny dude, man. He was like, I think it was second week at the school for APW. I think I knew him. That's how long I know him. And then Sparky Ballard. And I was talking to Will, and we were on the phone for like an hour and a half. And he goes, Blood, why don't you go put something together? Like, why don't you do a show? And I'm like, you know what? That's a good idea. And then I called him back and I said, you know what? In 6 months, if I still have the same feeling that I have right now, I'll do it. So out of respect, I called Sparky up because I went to the APW Training Academy like the first year it was in Pacifica. So like I was in the same class with like Thunder Rosa. Like that's my homegirl, Mel. You feel me? Like Dylan Drake was he was like the teacher. Matt Carlos was the teacher. It was crazy. I mean, it was a trip. Like we took the chops from Rick. Rick chopped the shit out of me. I was like, man, I don't know, man. I just want to be a writer. I want to be a promoter. But anyway, I called up Spark. I said, Spark, man, because I know you run in Pacifica and I know him. So I was like, hey, this one I'm gonna put something together. And originally it was supposed to be in San Bruno. I said, hey, man, are you cool if I do this? He's like, why would I be bothered by you doing this? It's giving the people opportunity to shine. I'm like, love it. So I went and did it. And like I said, the biggest influence that I had doing it was I was just like, I want to see more wrestling in the Bay Area, different style of wrestling in the Bay Area. You know what I mean? Like LA had like PWG. They had, LA was a hotbed. It's been solid for a long time. And I'm a super proud person from the Bay Area. You know what I mean? And I wanted that type of atmosphere up here. The more underground feel, you know what I mean? I didn't want like crazy polish to it. I didn't want, I didn't want to see a whole bunch of old ex WWE guys. I wanted to see like up and coming talent and them being the forefront. And I was like, I'm finna do that. And the rest is history.
That's really cool. And a lot of people who I've talked to at the shows have mentioned that sort of PWG comparison. A lot of people who I've talked to who have attended both shows, both promotions, say that West Coast Pro Wrestling reminds them of those old PWG shows at the Legion Hall. Was that intentional when you were looking at the stateroom as a venue and setting it up?
No, actually, it was the complete opposite. So originally we were supposed to be in San Bruno at the Veterans Hall there. And if we went in that room, the comparison would have been almost negative at that point because it looks dead on just like the Legion Hall. I mean, it's crazy how similar they are. But when I did the stateroom, I was like, man, it's hella cozy in here and it's very different, but it's not corny. You know what I mean? Like Dale Earnhardt Jr. just said that the stateroom reminds him of the Brady Bunch house. It's like no shit. Like I thought that was funny. But like I picked the stateroom because of how different it was. I got tired of going to gyms. I mean, we've seen it all across the country, and I'm not knocking it. It's just like I'll put it this way: when you walk into a gym or when you walk into somewhere, there's nothing special about it. Like when you walk into the Cow Palace, oh shit, that's the Cow Palace. When you walk into Reseda, you're like, oh man, this is Reseda. You know what I'm saying? But when you walk in the stateroom, you get the same thing. You get the same vibe. Like it's very intimate. It's comfortable. You know what I mean? There's its own set its own set vibe that you can't match. You can't match it. So that was a very, I'll say, strategic reason why I picked it. I didn't want it to look like anywhere else. We were looking at a gym. There's a few places that we've looked at and we're still looking at, but like I have a friend that works in the drapery business, like where they could do concerts and stuff like that. We're draping off everything. Like I don't want it to feel like a gym because it's just I don't feel like there's anything special about it. So I just said, nah, I'm good. So Stateroom, we picked that because of how different it is. You know what I mean? We don't do crazy lighting. We let it stay the way it looks because when people go in there, they're like, damn, that's crazy. You know what I mean? So.
Yeah, it has a certain, like you said, intimate feel to it. Kind of reminds you of some of those just unique venues that we have on the West Coast here. You mentioned PWG's Legion Hall, and Defy has that intimate venue at the hall that they run up there in Seattle.
Love that building.
Have you been there in
smart.
person?
No, I'm going to end up going to a Defy show at some point this year. But I love what they have up there. Very, very solid. Like I always look at buildings whenever I go to a show. There's a little certain. I'm not gonna give away free game, but like whenever I go to a show, I look at the building. Like, okay, you know what I'm saying? Like, can I have a memory here for real? For real? Can I, when I go somewhere, you know what I mean? Just little details, and some people get so caught up in just running a show anywhere. You know what I mean? And I don't blame them, but like you want to do this like over a long period of time, man. Like I would be very, very like hard pressed to say like if you look at some of the big staples in the whole country, a lot of those places have ties to a building that they have that was their home. I mean, shit, look at the ECW arena. You know what I mean? Fucking 20 years later, people still call it the ECW arena has been dead. You know what I mean? They're still talking about the PWG spot down at the Legion Hall. Like they still speak on it. Bar wrestling is going to be another one. You know what I mean? Definitely. Because I've been to a few bar shows and it's just like, you know, there's a lot of it's not a coincidence that a lot of solid shows and solid companies have really good buildings. You know what I mean?
Well, that's really cool. I hope to see, you know, the Stateroom mentioned along with those other names like Washington Hall for Defy, where one of my co-hosts, Scotty Nobelt, goes to shows like the Legion Hall in Reseda, you know, making it one of those really famous West Coast venues. We hope to see that, and hopefully, you know, it gets mentioned up there along with those other big indie promotions on the West Coast.
In due time. I mean, we're still new, so but I remember every time the Rascals come in, they're like, it's probably one of the best buildings that we ever get to wrestle in because it's just so unique. I'm like, thank you. Like I pay attention to that type of shit.
That's really cool that you put in so much attention to detail on the presentation. What are you really trying to convey to the audience that's there in person at the Stateroom or watching on independentwrestling.tv?
I'd say two things. One, I want to take a step away from what the status quo, what independent wrestling is or was. I hate using the term independent wrestling, but I mean, it's the best way to explain it on a broad term. I'm really tired of there's a lot of promotions that just show up and do shows and that's it. And there's nothing special to them. You know what I mean? It's very cut and dry. Thankfully, like when it comes to Bay Area, like you do have some solid, you know, promotions here. But like you look way up. I mean, I'll be honest with you. When I talk about Northern California, I'm not really talking about the Bay Area. I don't know what the hell's going on up north. Like I couldn't tell you. The things that I've seen, I'm just like, man, like, do people care? Like, are they just trying to get money? What's going on? You know what I mean? I don't want to be in the same boat as a lot of these other promotions. That's neither good nor bad. That's just my own take on it. And the second thing is to say, like, to be real, like, I personally think that Northern California has amazing talent that really doesn't get a lot of chances outside of Northern California. So when I'm only doing IWTV no bullshit, is so people could see cats from up here. Because no one's really putting stuff online out here in the Bay. No one, like nobody. I think I'm the only one right now. I think that is doing it on the level that we're doing it right now, and I'm happy. I'm excited about that. I'm talking about putting up live shows, 100%. You know what I mean? I don't think there's anyone else putting up live shows from the Bay Area on IWTV or on a national level. I mean, people put them up on YouTube, but like 4 people watch them, and that doesn't really mean shit to me. I'm saying across the board, full marketing, being promoted nationwide so other people can see. I think we're the only ones doing it. And I really think, there's a lot for us to do up here. I take that back. Hood Slam definitely does a good job on Twitch. They put out their content on Twitch, and I like Hood Slam for that. They were I think the real first ones to really take Twitch and do something with it. And this is years ago. This is before, I think, House of Hardcore. So I think Hood Slam is ahead of their time in a lot of ways. And I think a lot of people don't want to give them credit for that. I will. So, but yeah, those are like my two big reasons: to take a step away from what the status quo for indie wrestling is, and to get a lot more eyes on Northern California talent. You know what I mean? We have some really, really solid workers up here on like crazy levels.
So I want to ask a little bit of your strategy, a little bit about the strategy behind your booking. What's going through your mind when you're looking at talent to bring in from outside Northern California to kind of work with the talent here, and how you want to use those matchups to showcase both the homegrown talent here in Northern California and, those independent wrestlers from other parts of the country who fly in for your shows?
Well, first, I think a lot of the guys from Northern California could go and be put with a lot of people that are on, quote unquote, a higher level from other places in the country. It's just that no one's ever given a lot of opportunity to people out here as far as putting them with them folks. You feel me? So, Dickinson and Hobbs, just good example. There's not many people that look like Will, period. And, Chris is ridiculous. And I put those two together because I thought, hey, Haas fight, of course, but this looks good on paper. This would look good all around. You know what I mean? That's just a small example of what I mean. So like what goes through my mind is if I'm booking people from outside, and I don't think it's really that much of a secret, but like, are they good with their social media? It's weird because if I bring bigger names that are on the independent circuit, that's not like ex-WW guys, a lot of people don't know who they are here because a lot of the times this is their first time coming out here. So there's a lot of people that I'm bringing from the East Coast, the Midwest, for the first time, not only just to California, but to the Bay Area. So I look at, I'll be honest, one of the other things is I look at, like, are they getting signed soon? There's a lot of people that I've worked with that just got signed right away. And I'm like, damn, man, I really wanted to work with them for a long period of time because I saw something really cool in them. But I mean, those are two things. I'm not going to give away like the full blueprint because I really feel like we have lightning in a bottle and a good strategy, and it's working. So I think those are two things that I could say. In all honesty, there's more to it, but those two right there are pretty high on that list.
Well, you can't give away the recipe to the sauce, right? So
absolutely not. There's too many people watching and fucking biting, but that's how it goes.
Hey, imitation is the sincerest form of flattery, but
true. But I'm an asshole, so I don't really want to look at it that way.
So I want to ask about your influence and how you book and present. I follow you on Twitter, and I've seen you post some of the matches. You've got, a mix of independent matches from the early 2000s. You've got 90s Purores. What are some? How does the influence of all those different styles go into the matches that you present at West Coast Pro Wrestling?
Excitement, and this has nothing to. I mean, you could apply. There's a lot of things that you could apply from the outside world to pro wrestling, but I'll say it like this: there's not a lot of memories being made in the last 10 years. I'd say overall, there's not. I mean, on the independent level, since Ring of Honor, I mean, when I talk about Ring of Honor, I'm like 2000s Ring of Honor. PWG had it. They had the juice. Bar wrestling definitely has the juice. But like a lot of places, they just don't have. There's no memories being made. There's not a lot being talked about. You know what I mean? It really isn't. Especially here in the Bay. Like, we had Cow Palace stuff, you know what I'm saying? And that was cool, but like it was more about the Cow Palace than anything else. And I'm just like, damn, man, I don't want it to be remembered for just the Cow Palace, you know what I mean? Like, so when I look at a lot of this stuff, I'm just like, damn, man, like what could you do to make something memorable? You know? And also on the same breath, it's like I don't want to take it. There's a lot of independent promoters that have God complexes that when it comes down to an indie show, everyone wants to be Vince. You know what I mean? And they take shit way entirely too seriously. And I'm just like, fam, we're running indie shows. You know what I'm saying? But also in the same breath, you want to take it serious to the point where you can create memories and stuff. Like there's a father and a son that comes to my shows. And it tripped me out because I didn't understand the responsibility that I had when I put these shows on when it came to something like this. He came up to me. He says, I split custody with my son's mother. And whenever there's shows, we come to your show and it's the greatest memories that me and him share. I almost broke down and started crying when he told me that shit. I was like, what? And it was a trip when he said that to me, blood, because I was like, man, okay. So that's that magic, right? So I want to make magic on the indies without it being a carbon copy of something like pretentious, you know what I mean? Like still have a good time with it, but then they can still hold it close to them. Like, damn, okay, this is something solid, you know what I mean? So, yeah.
Man, you got me a little choked up with that story. That's so cool, you know. And you mentioned it before when you talked about watching wrestling with your grandfather. I watched a ton of wrestling with my grandfather too. And it's those memories that you form as a kid, right, that stay with you. And especially when you have a family member to tie that to. And it's just something that sticks with you throughout your whole life, right?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, my biggest regret is my grandfather not being able to see what I'm doing right now. Like, I'll be real. Like, after the first show that we had out, because the first show that we had in San Bruno got canceled like 2 weeks prior. Like, the city was like, hell no. Because like some backyard kid like cut open an artery or something like that and sued the city, and they didn't want wrestling over there. That's fine. And then thankfully Sparky Ballard let me use the old gold mine, and we had like 6 cancellations, the whole fucking venue gone, all this other stuff. And Sparky afterwards like, hey man, he goes, you had every bad thing happen to you in wrestling happen in one show. It's like if you stuck it out past this, you're fine. And I'm like, cool, learned it all in one go. But like, the growth is ridiculous. You know what I mean? But there's a lot that I want to accomplish. But like, yeah, absolutely. Like, I honestly believe that I wouldn't give a shit about wrestling if I didn't have those close memories with my grandfather. You know what I mean? You always want to tie it to something, especially if they're younger. You feel me? You want to make sure it ties to something and it pulls on a heartstring, and that I think is a really solid key to success.
That's really cool. I know those memories are so important. I remember like I went to see WCW at the Henry J. Kaiser Pavilion in Oakland. It was like 1992, and I'll always remember it. Rick Rude comes out in the steel cage, just getting nuclear heat, calling people just idiots, California cupcakes, and people are throwing trash because it's in a cage. People are throwing trash at the cage. And I was like 7 or 8, and I look around and I see all these people doing this thing. They're putting their middle finger up at the steel cage, and I joined in them. And then my grandfather looks over at me and he's like, "Oh my God!" He grabs my hand, but I don't know. It's just funny stuff like that, right? Those kind of crazy memories.
It's so like I'm a little bit weird, right? So I personally was never a tape trader, but I had a neighbor that was. So like, imagine you're hella young, like under 10, and then you're watching the very like gimmicky early WWF stuff, right? Repo Man and fucking Papa Shango and all that shit. Then your neighbor's kid hands you a tape like, oh yeah, my dad wanted to show you this, and it's like the Super Jays. And then here's ECW tapes, and you go from one extreme to another, and it's just like your fucking mind is warped. Because you were saying like you see me post a lot of Puro on there and like early 2000s indies, and absolutely I'm a big fan of Japan, huge. But like where it lies is a lot of ECW. Like because we had a show for my birthday last year, and I was like, I go to the guy I run it with, my boy Jeff. He does all the like the technical stuff. And I go, Blood, don't be surprised it's just an ECW tribute show. And he's like, dude, there's no one out here that knows about ECW. Like, you know what? I'm gonna be a mark like a motherfucker. I'm gonna do it anyway. But we didn't do it. But it's just like I'm a huge ECW fan. Like I'm a huge ECW fan. That was my shit. Of course, I like the Super Jays for the technicalities and stuff. But I mean, who doesn't? Like we had the Attitude Era, everyone flipping everybody off. But like the night. The tape where the Kimono Wanalea dances upon ECW, like seeing titties and shit like that, you'd lose your mind. Like I was a kid and I was seeing that shit, and it was wrestling was so pure. And then I see this and I was like, oh shit, like it's the rebel type shit. I kind of want that's when kind of go back to another question you had. Like that's kind of like the influence. It's like the rebel spirit. You feel me? I'm not doing what anybody else is doing up here. There's not really. Like I said, I don't have polish to mine. Our matches are I mean, and I know it rubs people the wrong way, but I mean, I'll tell you this: if you're not confident about the product you put out, you shouldn't be putting out product. I firmly believe we put out the best pro wrestling. Like when in-ring pro wrestling, I think we put out the best in-ring pro wrestling. If you look at the talent that we have in the last year and a half, it's fucking bar none. I mean, I'll be real. Like I don't boast on social media. I don't jump on saying who we've had. But since we're doing the interview, I'll say it like this. We had Darby Allin before he got put on to AEW. If you look at a lot of people that are on AEW now, no one else had Luchasaurus up here. No one had Darby up here. I was flying folks in, getting them, hey, let's go do this. I see what they're doing. There's a lot of great talent on the East Coast that no one wants to pay for a flight. Shit, fuck it. I'll do it. You know what I'm saying? Like right now we have Daniel Garcia, who in my mind reminds me a lot of like Lance Storm with the intensity of Taz. You know what I mean? Like I said, there's not a lot of, I really could say like with full passion and I'll stand on this. I'll die on this hill. We put out the best in-ring pro wrestling in the Bay Area, period. Like I'm down to argue with anybody about that one. Like our what do you call it? Our production isn't nowhere near a lot of folks up here, and I'm okay with that. You know what I mean? Like Paul Heyman said, he goes, hide the negative and boast the positive. Okay, well, we're just gonna put on the best wrestling you could get. Production, fuck that, but we'll get you the best wrestling we could get, and it's cool because like I wouldn't say that just to say that if it wasn't backed up, if I didn't see growth behind what we were doing. Like first show that we did, we had like 30 people show up. And now we're pushing 200. You know what I mean? And anyone that says promoting wrestling is easy, good luck. Go do that. You tell me how it goes. But like, I when you see people get excited, when you have someone flying in from British Columbia because they're like, I don't think that's ever going to happen up here, and you're the closest person that's doing it, we're gonna fly down. Or we have people driving from Oregon to come see your shows. People like there's a couple that has driven up to every show that we've had from LA. And that's a huge compliment because I mean, a lot of LA wrestling is crazy right now and people still will drive up. You know what I mean? And I love hearing that. So again, I say it and I'm standing on it. Best pro wrestling in ring in Northern California. Period.
Wow. That is a bold assertion. And I want to talk a little bit about what makes the wrestling at West Coast Pro so great. You mentioned before the Haas match with Will Hobbs and Chris Dickinson, the Dirty Daddy. We had another big Haas match at your last show, West Coast Pro 17 Reasons, Will Hobbs facing up against AJ Gray, and those guys just drop bombs on each other, man.
I remember when I was booking AJ's my man's, bro. I fuck with AJ. When I booked AJ, people were like, who? And I'm like, man, y'all don't really like watch wrestling, which I don't watch a lot of wrestling personally. Like if it's like, I watch AEW of course, but like, I don't really watch a lot. I watch what I'm into, you know what I mean? I pay attention to a lot of indie, because I feel like we're in the beginning stages of another boom for indie. Not like, oh, we're gonna make a whole bunch of money. No, the amount of talent on the indie is ridiculous. And AJ Gray, personally, like the growth that he's had in the last year is ridiculous. And you could tell now he's booked everywhere. I was like, I gotta get him out here. And him and Will, definitely, I knew that they would mesh really well. And I think that was one of Will's best matches. Like, you know, we put Will with Trey Miguel and a few others, but like I felt like the strong style that AJ has mixed with Will would be fucking fire, and it was. You know, it was one of the most talked about matches from that show. But AJ is a killer. Like he's a killer. Like he's with the shits. I absolutely respect his craft, and he does shit differently. You know what I mean? You look at him, and for someone his size, you'd expect him just to be powerhouse, but the boy could move. Like he could really do a lot of shit to surprise people. And then on the other hand, Will did the same thing. And then last year that we've worked with Will, people have been like, not only has Will said it, but like other people, like there's people that literally doubted Will. And, you know, me and Will have talked about this, like, oh, you know, they look at Will and they're like, you know, and I'm like, all right, watch what I do, like with him. You know what I'm saying? Let me work with him and we'll see what happens. When I say I work with him, I'm just booking him up against people and just letting him do what he needs to do. And Will has grown ridiculously in the last year. You know what I mean? From the match he had with Charlie Deppen and Jake Atlas in that 4-way, that was like the spark. That was the spark of it. You know what I'm saying? Like people were talking about. He was in the match for 4 or 5 minutes, and look how long people talked about it. There was, you know, people putting up gifs of him on the internet for God knows how long. And, you know, every match he's had with us has been flamed. You know what I'm saying? The match he had with Dickinson was great. Trey Miguel was great. Definitely the match he had with AJ, though. That was, I think that was where shit clicked on a level where I was just like, blood, this match was worth every penny. So, yeah, man.
There you go. And Will be getting a title shot at the next show, right?
Absolutely. I think it's time that we made that decision to have him in a title match, because the first show, him and Hammerstone had a match. Like that was the main event, was Hammerstone versus Will. And Will beat Hammer. Will's the only person that beat Hammerstone in the entire time Hammerstone's been a part of West Coast Pro. And that's not taking away anything from Hammer. Hammer's literally held the belt for over 400 days. Like, and Hammerstone, I mean, his track record speaks for itself. He's probably one of the most, I wouldn't say polarizing, but spoken about pro wrestlers in America right now. He just did a what do you call it? A tour with Noah in Japan. He was down in Mexico 2 nights ago with MLW. I mean, the guy's everywhere, and he's our champion. And he's really carrying that torch. But we have Will, who has been championing West Coast Pro since before it was even made. And I also have Jarrell Nelson, one half of the 1%, looking to make his mark as well. And I think people are going to really remember what that match not only represents, but what it leads to. Because you have a guy that's, you know what I'm saying, I'd say what encapsulates Bay Area pro wrestling, which is Will Hobbs. Then you have someone that encapsulates what American pro wrestling is seen to on an international level with Hammerstone. And then you have someone that's looking to build their brand and make their mark, and they're very hungry, like Jarrell Nelson. You put them all in the same match, and what kind of magic are you going to get out of it? What kind of moments are you going to get out of it? We don't know. You know what I mean? We don't know who's going to win. Who's going to walk away from that? You know what I mean? And whoever does walk away with it, I mean, it's heavy. You know what I'm saying? It's going to be pretty heavy for them, because not only is it's going to be a situation where they just prove themselves, but they got to continue proving themselves. So there's a pretty amazing story to tell when you put those three in the ring together. So I'm really excited to see the outcome of that match.
what do you think is going to be the key to win that match? Now you've got the triple threat, right? So Hammerstone doesn't have to be pinned to lose the championship, but he even talked about how he's coming into the match and improving himself after going the time limit 30-minute distance with Jor-El Nelson at 17 Reasons. He said he's added in an hour of high-intensity interval training, an hour of that high-intensity cardio into his training regimen. I mean, coming into this three-way, what do you think are going to be some of the keys? Is it going to be the cardio? Is it going to be strength? Is it going to be craftiness? Well, what are they going to have to do to win the match?
Experience. Overall experience. Not saying Jor-El doesn't have it, because Jor-El definitely has experience. Hammerstone has experience, and Will has experience. It's literally going to be experience. I firmly believe that it's gonna be hard hitting. You know what I mean? Definitely 100%. But I think Jor-El proved that he had heart. He's the only person that took Hammerstone to the limit other than Will. So it's gonna be rough. It's gonna be a rough match. It's not gonna be one of those matches where whoever wins is gonna be able to stand on their own. No, I'm pretty sure someone's gonna have to help someone stand up after that one. You know what I mean? It's gonna be pretty hard hitting.
You're gonna need a couple of.
Go ahead.
You're going to need a couple of ice baths backstage for that match.
Straight to that. Absolutely.
That's a really cool matchup that we're looking forward to seeing. I want to. You've talked so much about Will Hobbs and you've mentioned a little bit of Starboy Charlie. I want to get your perspective on this. Who do you think on West Coast Pro Wrestling's roster has the potential to be that next big indie star out of California? I mean, we've seen Jake Atlas, Jeff Cobb, Jacob Fatu, all of these wrestlers go onto the national stage from the NorCal indie scene. Who do you think is really in line to sort of take that crown as the big indie star in California?
Well, obviously, Will is going to be up there for me. This is going to be a very I don't give a shit about politics. I'm gonna be honest with this one. If I book you on West Coast Pro or whoever I booked on West Coast Pro, it's because I do think and I believe that they can do something, not only just in Northern California, but all around. There's so many different flavors to pro wrestling now that there's a niche that anybody up here could fill. Anybody. Now, obviously, like I said, Will Hobbs is going to be up there for me. Charlie is already Charlie's on GCW shows now. You know what I mean? Like, I've said it before and I'll say it again. Charlie is definitely the future of the Bay Area, but I think he's bigger than the Bay Area. I think he's bigger than Northern California. He has a lot to offer. He has a lot to learn, just like anybody does. You know, he's a young cat. He's a young dude. You feel me? So like, I can't sit here and be like, he's ready. No, like I think that he's ready for the big stage so he could learn and grow from there. You know what I mean? I think, having him with Jake Atlas, and first of all, Jake Atlas, you know what I'm saying, is sorely missed out here because he's probably one of the most selfless people that I've worked with. And he wanted to work with Charlie directly. Like, me and him had a lot of conversations together, and he's like, Charlie was on the list of people that I wanted to work with Jake, and he was very down to work with Charlie. You know what I mean? And we've seen the growth from what happened with him and Charlie together. You know what I mean? And it's phenomenal. Now he's, doing GCW shows, and people all over the country are going to start to see him, and he got put on that great stage. So Charlie out the way. Levi Shapiro, I think people have slept on him for way entirely too long. The guy is, and I think he's too smart to be a wrestler. He's an incredibly intelligent person, like as a human being. Like he's very intelligent. The way that his mind works, I love it. And he has a very strong future with pro wrestling. The way that his mind works, his in-ring is solid as hell, and I think that he is finally getting that. How can I say? It's starting to click for him into a way where he just needs to get out of the Bay Area. You know what I'm saying? I know he works with Championship Wrestling from Hollywood, and it's just the more and more experience and the more people that he works with, people are starting to understand, like, I get it. This is great. And it's working. It's fantastic. Who else? Chris Bay, obviously he's on Impact, but like, you know, he's ridiculous. That guy. Who else do we have? Fuck, man. It's just, you know, I really believe definitely in those guys right there. Oh fuck, Juicy. Holy shit. We haven't worked with Juicy yet. But like, man, I'm excited to work with him. I think he's phenomenal. Matt Vandergriff, we're gonna work with him soon. This is all people that are gonna be on this next show, but like I said, if I'm booking you, there's a reason. I've been to way entirely too many shows where you could definitely tell that people got booked because they just needed a fucking spot to fill, and that's boring as fuck to me. So yeah, no, 100% those people right there. Not discounting anybody. I'm just can't think of anybody off the top of my head, but I'm really excited to see what happens with Levi. I really am. I think it's clicked with Will. Charlie's in his stride right now. But Levi, man, there's something that I think I firmly believe with Levi that's coming. And I think 2020 is going to be the year people are going to be like, fuck. You know what I mean? Like, okay. You know what I mean? So I'm really looking forward to see that. I would have said Zicky. I think Zicky Dice is probably one of those, the most, he gets it. He knows how to market, and he's solid wrestling wise. In the ring is fantastic. Zicky Dice is fucking amazing. Man, yeah, man. I could sit here, and anybody that I have on that card, I could sit here and talk about and I'm blue in the face. Just because I've sit there and I studied and watched them for so long, and I'm just little intricacies that they have. You know what I mean? Things that make them different. You know what I mean? Like, what made Muda great? It's his little mannerisms. What made The Rock great? You know what I'm saying? It's little little small things, the little small details. And Will's starting to get that. Levi's starting to get that. Charlie's like 17. He's starting to get that. There's so much talent in the Bay. It's ridiculous. It's so fucking stupid. It's just, my goal is just to get these guys out of here. You know what I mean? Because I could only run a show a month. You know what I mean? There's only so much I could do to get them experience and get them to get eyes on them. You know what I mean? It's because I'm a promoter. You know what I mean? The fucking key word there's promote. I'm supposed to promote these guys. So, yeah, man.
Wow, those are a lot of wrestlers that we're going to keep an eye on. Will, Charlie, Levi, Zicky, Juicy. I know Juicy, he had his stint training at the Fale Dojo in New Zealand. Right. And Matt Vandergriff. We're going to keep an eye on all of them here at the Rudos podcast. Now, I want to dig a little bit into the sauce recipe here.
Go ahead.
What are some of the independent wrestlers that you have not yet booked that are on your radar for upcoming shows or possibly reaching out to?
So, Warhorse is definitely one of them. Love the gimmick. Love his in-ring. He's a tough motherfucker, man. He has his whole like lip ripped out. That was crazy. I was like, God damn.
Oh man, off the turnbuckle.
Right. That was wild. Lee Moriarty, I think he's going to be pretty solid. He's like Midwest. He gets booked mostly Midwest and out East. I haven't worked with Joey Ryan yet. That's a name. That's somebody I would like to work with. I think something really cool could happen with Joey. Fucking Joey Ryan. I don't know what else to say. There's a lot of fucking people, man.
It's a
let
tough
me think
question.
about that one. Let me get back to you, man. Because I honestly don't want to forget people, but I also don't want to surprise people. Also, I mean, it's no secret. We're gonna probably work with Warhorse. I haven't reached out to Joey yet. Moriarty, I have reached out to. He's gonna probably be on Untouchable, most likely. I've been with the whole coronavirus shit. I gotta really switch some dates around and stuff like that. I really want to start working with more women talent, which is the funny thing was I think Sparky's probably the only person that knows this. I wanted to have an all women show first, just because I was like, there's no representation. I mean, there's I'm taking Hood Slim out of this equation, but like there's not a lot of good representation for women when it comes to wrestling, especially in Northern California. You get your like one match, but I mean, I think there's way more there than most people give credit. You know what I mean? Like I really hate hearing, oh, it's a piss match because it's a women's mess. I fucking hate that. Like a lot of these women bust the shit out. They bust their ass, man. They really go ham. And I feel like there's a lot more opportunity there. Not only the opportunity, but there's a lot more. I think there's a lot more there than people really give credit to. So.
Well, you had the match between Heather Monroe and Viperous at 17 Reasons, and that was pretty hard hitting.
It was. Heather and Viperous are two outstanding talents. They're both from SoCal. I think Heather's from Santino Brothers, and I will say this right now: Santino they do such an amazing job down there. And I know Viperous B-Boy trained there. Shout out to my man's B-Boy. I think those two are very, very solid when it comes to like their in-ring. And it's just, where do we go from here? You know what I mean? Like I said, I'm starting to flirt with the idea of an actual all-women show separate from West Coast Pro. You know what I mean? Well, under the West Coast Pro banner, but like a separate show just for women. Like I'm really like 75%. It's like it's already been in motion. There's two other and people don't know this shit. I'm just gonna give it to you because why the fuck not? There's two other shows that I'm putting out that's not West Coast, but it's gonna be under the banner. I haven't talked to nobody about this because it's none of it's business, but I'm putting it out. But when you guys see it, you'll know what it is. But like there's two other shows that I'm deciding that I'm pretty sure it's gonna end up being like 3 shows a month. You know what I mean? With West Coast being the fucking at the forefront, and then 2 other shows that are very niche as far as what they are. And I don't want them to be niche anymore. I want them to grow from there. So, and one of them is definitely a women's show. It's just a lot of things have to align first.
Well, there you go. You heard it first here with the Rudos podcast. It sounds like you've got just a ton of ideas pinging around about what to run here, right? I mean, there's so many options for you.
If you like knew, like it's like for example, like people with like our partnership, I want to say my sponsorship with that Championship Wrestling from Hollywood. They're like, why would you promote another show? I'm like, we're not on TV. Who else out here is on TV? No one's on TV out here. I couldn't care less. I want to work with people. I'm probably, I'll say it right now. Like I have no problem working with other promoters. You know what I mean? Like we're doing the show with Prestige up in Oregon. I'm pretty sure we're going to do a UGWA show. Anthony and I've already talked. You know what I mean? There's definitely room for partnerships and joint shows and mixing it up. I don't like the idea. Like I said, it's not that serious. People still have the mindset from the 80s and the 90s, and I'm not from the bubble. And I think that's what rubs a lot of people the wrong way about how I get down, and that's okay. You know what I mean? I didn't start to do this because I wanted people to like me. You know what I mean? I wanted to add to the culture, to be honest. And I think with the last year and a half, no one could tell me that I'm not. So I'm really just trying to improve the situations rather than take away and say, this is mine. I hate that. That's stupid. You know what I mean? Like I said, everyone wants to be Vince. You know what I mean? It's a different day and age. You know what I mean? We could all have the dreams and aspirations to be $1 billion company, but reality is a motherfucker. And I don't want an inflated ego to dictate something that affects people, because I feel like I'm giving a lot of people opportunity with what I'm doing that wouldn't normally get opportunity. And people could take that however they want to take it. But, I mean, there's no question that I'm doing it for the love of pro wrestling. I'm definitely not making money. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm definitely doing this shit because I love it. You know what I mean? So, not saying that's not a factor, but I think when I talk about promoter, I mean, I've dealt with so many promoters in like the Midwest because I'm, talent, and stuff like that. I've actually had to deal with promoters that it's just like, what the fuck are you guys doing? These are, I really, probably 2 promoters I've ever worked with, 3 now, that I could say that are solid human beings, and the rest have been fucking pieces of shit. And, when I look at how people are treated, I think that there needs to be a huge fucking overhaul on that, because a lot of people that are in wrestling are being treated like shit, and a lot of promoters are either turning a blind eye to it. You know what I mean? Like, just was it yesterday? There was a promoter talking about, because of the coronavirus or whatever, and that workers should lower their pro wrestlers should lower their fee. And I'm just like, what the fuck are you talking about? You know what I mean? It's just it blows my mind. So, yeah, there's a lot of some weird shit going on, but like, I definitely want to make sure that I'm improving. I'm raising the bar no matter what I'm doing. You know what I mean? I just want to raise that bar, and if I'm applying pressure, good. You know what I mean? Because I've been labeled as, oh, he's a fucking mark with money, or he's not from wrestling. I'm like, then if a fucking mark with money that's from outside of wrestling is putting so much pressure and making people scramble, what the fuck does that say about you? You know what I mean? So all I'm trying to do is make people happy with the product they're putting out. If they're raising the bar themselves, I'm doing my job. You know what I mean? If people are happy coming and working with me, I'm doing my job. But also on the other end, if people are disliking me, I'm also doing my job, and I'm really aware of that. So, like I said, man, I'm just trying to make sure everything all around is improved. You know what I mean? I'm not saying the Bay Area was in a bad place. It's not it at all. You know what I mean? APW was really doing solid work. You know what I mean? They're doing it over there. Love what Hood Slam's doing. You know what I'm saying? Sparky was doing it with Gold Rush down at the gold mine, putting out solid wrestling. So those are all the people I pay attention to out here. And it's not saying I don't fuck with nobody else, because I'm not mentioning them. It's just, this is what I've seen, and this was the standard that I saw, and they were always been cool. I look at a lot of other shit, and I'm just like, nah, don't lump me in with that. Don't lump us in with that. And that's kind of where I'm at with that.
Now, I want to go back to your point about what you said about how the promoters treat the workers, how the promoters treat the wrestlers. You alluded to that Facebook post that we saw from the promoter. I think it was WAR in like Ohio.
Something in Ohio, yeah.
And you made a very important announcement. Obviously, the rescheduling of A Lesson to Be Learned to April 17th, and another part of that announcement was that you really have literally put your money where your mouth is when you talk about taking care of the workers. You announced that you would pay the workers for the show that was being rescheduled. What made you decide to take that extra step and do that? That's something that not a lot of other promotions across the country are doing.
It's not an extra step, like, to me. You know what I mean? There's always this mentality of us versus them, or them versus us, when it comes to promoters and talent. And I fucking hate that. Because, like I said, it's a very 80s, 90s mindset. I mean, these people are flying in. Of course, you're paying them to do the job, blah, 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 blah. But, like I said, I haven't made $1. You know what I'm saying? I'm still, any business that is being ran, you know what I'm saying, there's a 3 to 5 year turnaround when it comes to profit. Okay? I'm currently not making money with what I'm doing. I came into this knowing this, okay? Everyone under the sun warned me, like, there's no money in wrestling. Cool, I'm not doing it for the money, right? But a lot of these guys, talent-wise, this is how they pay their bills. This is what they do. They, you know what I'm saying? 7 days a week, 365 days a year, they're in the gym, they're performing, they're honing their craft, they're getting, they're putting money aside for ring time, going to other schools and doing drop-ins, seminars, ring gear. That's expensive like a motherfucker, but it's very important. Sometimes these guys are driving to shows and promoters aren't even paying them and all this other bullshit. I'd be lying to tell you if I sit here and I tell you that I really rock with somebody, if I'm really like, if I stand behind somebody, because whenever, and the one thing I hate, and there's a few guys that could tell you this shit when they say, oh, I hate two things. Don't call me boss and don't say that you're working for me. I'm working with you. Okay. I don't like that type of mentality. Of course, if I had to put my foot down on some shit, then I do understand that. But I want a very healthy working relationship with the people that I work with. If I say that I'm standing behind you and I respect what you do, and there's a situation like this, it's not going the extra mile to treat you like a human being. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, I went out of my way and I made sure everyone got paid, and that's it. That's all there is to it. You know what I mean? Like, it's sad to actually get such a, and it's been a very positive response, and it wasn't marketing, it wasn't nothing. Because to be honest, like, I'm not getting anything from it other than knowing that I treated somebody with respect. You know what I'm saying? Like, one of the saddest things I've ever heard, like when you work with us at West Coast, like, we feed you. You know what I mean? We got a really solid group of people that work with us at the shows, and they do a lot of food stuff, and we have all that going on, and we make sure they're fed. They don't have to pay a dime. And like, I remember someone specifically saying, like, "Yo, we really made it. We're getting fed," and I'm just like, do you guys not get? They're like, dude. I personally pick people up from the airport, drop them off, make sure the hotel's solid, blah, 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 blah. And I thought that was normal, because when people come to the Bay, this is my home. So I treat them as guests. And that's just, whatever, anyone could draw whatever conclusion they want from that. But, people could talk all this shit about the love for the workers, and we'll do something. It's sad that I had to do something like that. And so many people were like, oh my God. I'm like, that should be done in the first place. You know what I'm saying? So I don't know. I'm not telling other people what to do with their money. I'm just saying what I'm doing with mine, and I'm just treating people solid. Like, that's all there is to it. There's nothing. I don't think there's no science behind it. You know what I'm saying? So
yeah, I mean, it's like you said, it shouldn't be something that's extraordinary, right? Like, it should be a normal part of the business to take care of the workers, even especially in a situation like this where shows are getting canceled. This is these people's livelihoods. They're out on the road for days, for weeks at a time. You've got hotels, transportation, meals, paying gym memberships when you're out on the road, right? Training. I mean, all of that shit with the grind that comes with being a professional wrestler. And for it not to be the industry standard, kind of, it's unfortunate. I mean, that it should be the standard, right? Like, that should be the standard whenever you go to any promotion in the country. That should be how you're treated.
Yes, absolutely. I've heard enough horror stories from personal friends that work within pro wrestling to people that I've worked with new, and they were just like, yeah, the Midwest and the South, fuck, man. I mean, I've heard some horror stories, man. Yeah, there's some shit going on. Like I say, man, like, I've only worked with 3, so I take that back, 4 solid promoters. Oh boy from UGWA, my man's up with Prestige, Marcus, and Sparky. Those are the only, and I've not worked with, but I've dealt with tons of other promoters. and I say it, and it's very, it's almost like it's ignorant of me saying it because I am a promoter. I really don't like a lot of promoters. Not on some, like, I don't like you because you're another promoter. No, I don't like you because the way you treat people. You know what I mean? I hate that shit. Fucking, you have no idea how much I hate it. Like, it's almost it's a staple of really, like, look, I don't give a fuck what's going on. If you're here and you're working with me, I'm treating you right. And that's all there is to it. Like, that's not a selling point. That's just, you know what I'm saying? And people are like, well, it's just business. What is business to treat people like shit? You know what I mean? Don't pride yourself on being a fucking dickhead. You know what I mean? Like, I pride myself on making sure when people come and go, they're happy when they get here and they're happy when they leave. They're paid on time. You know what I'm saying? Like, then they have to worry about how to get to and from the event. Like, that's just simple shit. You know what I'm saying? Fucking do better. Like, I don't know like I said, I'm from the outside of the bubble, and I don't give a fuck if look, you could be in the business for 20 fucking years. You still treat people like shit. Fuck you. And that's really it. I mean, and I'll stand on that too. Like, I really don't mind it. You know what I mean? Saying that type of shit. Like, fuck it. like it's sad that this is a talking point in the year 2020. You know what I mean? Like, and I'm not saying all promoters are shit. That's not it at all. There's a lot of great promoters out there, but the fucking the promoters that you don't hear about, you know what I'm saying? The in a positive way, the ones that you like, fuck, what? Like, I've never heard of Old Boy from Ohio. Never. I don't know what the fuck that is. I don't, but you got on a soap, and Facebook is the worst. You have no idea how much I hate Facebook with wrestling.
Oh, it's awful.
Holy shit, the fucking soapboxes. Like, I say it all the time, you know what I'm saying? Like, for the sake of this interview, you know what I'm saying? You're asking me questions, I'm answering them. You know, we have a purpose for this. No one will ask a fucking thing. Nothing. No, not a soul on this earth will ask something. And they just jump out of the bushes with their stupid ass of fucking opinions. It's just like, you do understand you don't have to talk about everything, right? And that's how that started with that dude out in Ohio. Like, lower your fucking rates. Like, the cream rises to the top. So you want people to do more for less for your punk ass? No, fuck you, bro. Eat a dick. I'm good. Strong pass. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, I mean, it's like unsolicited coming out there on your soapbox trying to tell people, you know, you should lower yourself, you should denigrate yourself just because there's a fucking national emergency, right?
Man, listen. Yeah, you know what? And I guarantee that type of mindset it would even be the same without the emergency going on. So, I mean, take it for what it is, man. Like, how much you have to be a real dickhead to say that shit during emergency like that. No one's tripping. No one's checking for that. People are worried about their parents, their older folks that they have around them, their kids. People are getting sick. You know, people are spazzing out, running around getting toilet paper. You're over here worrying about fucking rates for a wrestling show. You're a dick. Like, you sit. Like, he's a dick.
Yeah.
Fuck him. Like, I don't know the guy. Don't care to. That's a dickhead maneuver. Like, that's the best way I can explain that.
No, it's a terrible move. But let's talk about some other promotions. But in a positive light here, you've mentioned.
Absolutely. I'm over here talking shit. Go ahead, man.
No, it's fine. It's fine. I mean, you know, it's good that you come out here and are defending the workers, and you know, it's just something that you don't hear from a lot of promoters. And like we said before, I mean, it's sad that that's the norm, that you coming out and defending the workers and the wrestlers and is out of the norm. Like, it should, you know, just treat people with fucking dignity and respect. But all of that aside, let's talk about some of the other promotions here. Let's look internationally. What are some of the promotions or wrestlers that you would like to work with in Mexico and Japan?
Ooh, okay. I don't pay too much attention to Mexico. Sadly, that's something I'm going to have to step up on because I'm missing a lot out there. The only reason why I don't follow a lot of stuff in Spanish or a lot of stuff in Mexico is because I don't know Spanish. And I want to, like, of course, you know, the story gets told in the ring, but like, I really do believe that commentators really help portray what's going on. You know what I mean? I don't know why guy versus guy doesn't like each other, you know? So I'm definitely going to start looking towards that. As far as Japan goes, holy shit. You know, I'm going to take all the New Japan stuff other than Ospreay. I want to work with Ospreay because I know he still takes dates, but take New Japan out of it. There's a lot of solid people in All Japan, a lot of cats in Noah. But there's a lot of solid, like the Joshi in Japan. Absolutely fantastic. Women's wrestling in Japan has always been great. I want to see more of the representation of that out here for sure. Man, that's something I think Hood Slam would do fucking amazingly with if they started working with Joshi, just because it would just bring another element for him. Rocky Romero is definitely on that list. I know he's not from Japan, but he represents. I take it back. If we're talking about New Japan guys that still take dates, Rocky Romero's high on that list. Absolutely. I'd love to work with him. Shit. If I could get a booking with Shingo, 100%. Him and Hammer would fucking tear it up. Him and Will would fuck it up. Like, I'd love to see that. I think that's all I'm willing to give because I am looking as far as Japan for people, and it's already in motion. So there's that. So yeah, if you guys are looking, 2020 is gonna be a very fun year. I'll just put it that way for y'all. So yeah, go ahead. If you have another question.
All right, let's go here. Let's take the shackles off.
Sorry, I'm disappointed with that one, but there's people that I do want to work with that I am going to work with that I can't give away.
No, it's fine. Don't you can't. You know, you gotta don't give all of it away. You can give a little, give a little preview, but don't give the whole thing out quite yet. So let's take the shackles off. Let's do some fantasy booking here. All right.
Oh,
so
shit.
so any two wrestlers, any era, any country, no matter what.
Oh shit.
Dream match. Book it.
Muda Taker would be one of them. That's just no brainer. That'd be some fun shit. At their height, I'd probably put Hammer and Hogan together. The Battle of the Tans. The best tan would win. Shit. 1, 2, 3 Kid and Charlie would definitely be up there. Funk and Levi would be fucking fantastic. Oh shit. Levi and Funk would definitely make me like I'd pay top dollar to see that. Magnum TA and Hammerstone. I'm only working with people that I've had brain farts of like, yo, if I could, I would. So I think of Japan. Brody King and fucking Bruiser Brody would definitely be up there, 100%.
The Brodies.
Yeah, the Battle of the Brodies. Even though it's already happened, I want to see another Raven Funk match just because I couldn't get enough of that back then. I'd put I would, if at their height, this was if I was booking a show tomorrow and I could say, this if it was up to me, New Jack and Nick Gage, that would be insanity. If GCW could pull it off, I'd do it. I think they're crazy enough to do it. New Jack and Nick Gage would 1,000 billion trillion% be the one to go. For real.
Man, you need an ambulance at the venue if you put those two in a match together.
Just bring the coffins out. Motherfuckers dying for that one. Shout out to GCW. Like they get it. I really love what they're doing. Like they really do a solid job at booking people like the unexpected and stuff like that. I love that approach to it. Like I'm no joke. Like I'm serious. New Jack and Nick Gage could still happen just because GCW is around. They're wild enough to do that type of shit.
So I'm going to ask you one last question here,
yeah.
and I'm gonna look far ahead to WrestleMania next year in Los Angeles. You got anything brewing up in the works for it?
I already got a venue.
Oh shit!
I already got one. Yeah, we're going. Like we're down there. Like when I'm not gonna give you details as far as that goes, but I'm already like 2021. I'm already in there. Like I already have everything in my mind. As far as planning and where we're going, yeah, obviously we have in June we have the show up in Oregon, but there's a lot of stuff building. We got the commercials going on ABC7. We got the partnership the sponsorship with Championship Wrestling from Hollywood. IWTV, we're really doing a solid job, and I'm really loving what we're doing with that. With WrestleMania coming up for next year, we have a venue and a very unique venue at that in Los Angeles, and we already have everything taken care of with that. That's nothing. I joked about it because I was like, man, I'm just gonna rent it out. But in all honesty, I have it as many times as I want, whenever I want. Permits are not a problem. I'm good to go. It's indoors and it can be outdoors if I choose it to be. I'm very excited for that. But how everything goes, yeah, I think that we have something brewing for that. And like, if you think that we have super shows up here as far as like, getting big indie talent, if we're doing it down there, just be ready. That's all I can tell you.
Oh man, I'm already excited for it now. You got me ready. You got me ready, and it's a year out. What am I going to do for a year to wait for it?
We have a lot of shows coming up and a lot of exciting things that happen for West Coast Pro. Like, I'm serious. Like, this is the time where I'm supposed to sell you on everything. Like, if I haven't shown you at this point of what we're doing, both at the time and in hindsight, because if you look at who we've booked and who we've worked with, and the type of matches that come from that. I mean, shit, people still talk about the triple threat between the Stoner Brothers, the Rascals, and the 1%. That was probably, in my opinion, top 3 matches, not only just in California, but maybe top 5 in all of Indies. You know what I'm saying? Like, and it was crazy because not a lot of people got to see it because we were still bullshitting on Twitch. But I mean, like I said it hella times, we have the best pro wrestling in Northern California, in ring, period. And I think that over time, like, we're just gonna keep hammering it, and we have no choice but to do great things with West Coast Pro. It's not just me; it's the people that I work with. You know what I mean? It's everyone from referees to people that hold the cameras to, you know what I mean? It's really pretty solid right now. So a year from now, we don't know. We don't know where we're going to be, but I can tell you we'll be around. I know that much.
Awesome. Well, how can people connect with West Coast Pro and check it out?
You could follow us on Twitter, WCPro Official. Our Instagram is WCPro Official as well. The website is being made. Things. We were going to get the website up. We're like, man, we got to get these shows out. We have Facebook, but I hate Facebook. It's the worst. But yeah, those two are the best. If you ever want to contact us directly, feel free to tweet us or message us on Instagram. We're very, very active on both as far as responding to people. You know what I mean? And just for the sake of saying it, no, we don't sell used ring wear. I was getting a lot of questions about that on our Instagram, and I was like, I don't know where that came from, but just if you're listening, we don't contact our talent, but we don't do it ourselves. That's weird. I've always been weirded out about that type of shit.
And I know that you can see West Coast Pro on independentwrestling.tv. And I know you got some free shit to give out for new subscribers. How do they get those 5 free days to sign up at independentwrestling.tv?
Right. So when you sign up for Independent Wrestling TV, and for those that don't know what IWTV is probably one of the biggest streaming services for pro wrestling that's independent. We're on there. Black Label Pro's on there. GCW's on there. AEW, tons and tons and tons of stuff's on there. When you go to checkout, use West Coast. West Coast, just type this all one word, and you'll get 5 free days. Right now, since everyone's locked down with the Corona stuff, it's a pretty good time to catch up. We have 3 of our shows on there. We're working on getting the rest of them up there. We're just editing everything. But you want to see 17 Reasons, In a Major Way, and Cruel Summer. Those 3 are up there right now. Those are some of our best shows. I mean, those are just fucking classics. If you want to go check them out, use code West Coast for 5 free days.
There you go, Rudo Nation. Use code West Coast for 5 free days on independentwrestling.tv. Check out West Coast Pro Wrestling. They have their next event tentatively scheduled for April 17th, A Lesson to Be Learned. You can get tickets for that on Eventbrite. Scott, thank you so much for joining us today.
Hey, no problem, man.
Thank you so much, man. I hope you, your family, your loved ones, you guys are all safe and healthy. I know shit's crazy right now, man, but that's the most important thing right now, right?
Man, you have no idea. Yes, absolutely. Just everyone's still oh, wash your hands. Nah, man, it's more than that. But just be safe, man. Just stay in the house. Be all right.
All right. Thank you so much. Rudo Nation, thank you for listening to another episode of the Rudos Podcast. You can check out all of our episodes, rudospodcast.co. Check out our YouTube channel. You can see our interviews, videos on there. We also post the episodes on there. YouTube, search for the Rudos Podcast. Follow us on Instagram and Twitter at Rudos Podcast. We are on your favorite streaming platforms, Spotify, Stitcher, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts. We're on all of them. Rate us, give us a thumbs up, subscribe to the show so you get notified when our new episodes come out every week. We're putting out a ton of content here. Please, everybody, stay safe, Rudo Nation. That is the most important thing. Stay safe, stay healthy out there. Things are crazy right now. Please try to help out those around you. Help out those who cannot help themselves. This is the time when it shows really what kind of people we really are. And always, más importante, Ichiban, stay rudo, my friends. Quédese rudo, amigos.